Chapter 280. What, brother? You want to go out? I want to go. I don't care where you go, but you have to take me with you. Outside the walls of the ancestral grave, as soon as Yi Qinghan told Yi Qingyu became anxious. She grabbed Yi Qinghan's robe and said resolutely, This? Yi Qinghan looked at Yi Qingyu shamefully. He didn't think that he would have to separate from Yi Qingyu and the others as soon as he came back. However, he didn't have the guts to resist Lord Devour's order. Moreover, it was related to Xiao Hei's origin. Yi Qingyu woke up because of the divine crystal that Lord Devour had given her. No matter what, she had to go out this time. Yi Qinghan begrudgingly smiled. Qingyu, be good. I'm going out with Forefather this time. Don't worry. Forefather said that if he's fast, he'll be back in 10 days or half a month. I don't care. I'll go wherever brother goes. You promised me in the God-slaying mountain that you'll never leave me again. Yi Qingyu shook her head gently, still pulling Yi Qinghan's sleeve. Her eyes were watery, and her delicate face made people feel sorry for her. Sigh. Take her with you. She's too stubborn. Lil Han, you should explain to the others. Yi Qingyu and I will wait for you here. While Yi Qinghan didn't know what to do, Yi Ruoshui walked out of the ancestral grave. She looked at Yi Qingyu, shaking her head. Yes. Yi Qinghan forced a smile, turned around, and walked to the Yi family's castle. Yi family's west garden, graceful dance garden. This was the garden that the Yi family had given to Yi Qingyu. The garden was not big, but it was very elegant. Besides living in the back mountain, Yi Qingwu usually lived in this garden. At this moment, Yi Qingwu was chatting with Yu Qingcheng and Long Sinan in a small pavilion in the garden. The scenery in the garden was beautiful, and there were all kinds of delicious snacks and good tea in the pavilion. However, although the three of them seemed to be chatting happily, it was obvious that the three of them were somewhat absent-minded. Xiao, a figure suddenly appeared, causing the three of them to be pleasantly surprised. The three of them quickly stood up. Yu Qingcheng and Yi Qingwu looked at the person shyly, while Long Sinan smiled with a complicated expression. Sister Xiao Wu, Qingcheng, Miss Long, the three of you together in this garden will make the flowers nearby pale in comparison. Yi Qinghan smiled as he looked at the three people in the pavilion. A trace of amazement flashed through his eyes. Yu Qingcheng was still wearing a peach-colored dress, and with her otherworldly beautiful face, she was like a fairy that had fallen from a building to the mortal world. Meanwhile, Yi Qingwu had deliberately changed into a provocative red skin-tight leather armor. Her pure and beautiful face, curvaceous figure, and especially her proud twin peaks, made people unable to resist committing a crime. Long Sinan was dressed in a tight outfit and had a dragon cry sword on her waist. Her whole person exuded a heroic spirit, which had a unique flavor. Little Han, you're asking for a beating. You only know how to speak flowery words. Once you're back, you can't even see me. Yi Qingwu glared at Yi Qinghan and raised her snow-white arm as if she was going to hit him. However, the unconcealable joy in the corner of her eyes betrayed her current mood. Han, Yu Qingcheng smiled and called out softly. Her eyes were filled with Yi Qinghan. Young Master Han even dares to make fun of me. He deserves a beating. You guys chat. I'll go see if my elders are all right. Long Sinan was obviously not a fool. She wouldn't foolishly be a third wheel. Yi Qinghan had directly revealed his relationship with Yu Qingcheng and Yi Qingwu on the Heaven's Road. At this moment, she obviously wouldn't ruin the relationship between other lovers. Once Long Sinan left, Yu Qingcheng and Yi Qingwu were instead a bit embarrassed. The two of them shyly looked at Yi Qinghan and tacitly sat down at the same time. They picked up their teacups and pretended to drink tea. Yi Qinghan smiled evilly. He took a step and directly squeezed in between the two of them. He unceremoniously wrapped his arms around their waists and pulled them into his embrace. He sniffed and could smell a delicate fragrance. He couldn't help but close his eyes in intoxication. Aya, what are you doing? You little rascal. Yi Qingwu immediately reacted. She quickly wriggled and waved her delicate fists at Yi Qinghan. However, Yi Qinghan exerted force, and her whole body fell into Yi Qinghan's embrace. Yu Qingcheng didn't say anything. Her whole face was as red as a ripe apple. Her two beautiful earlobes were also red and translucent. She lowered her head and closed her eyes. She didn't dare to look at anyone. "Don't move," Yi Qinghan said softly. He hugged the two of them tightly. He felt the amazing touch of the warm and fragrant soft jade in his arms. He couldn't help but be a little intoxicated. "This feeling is really good. I really want to hug you like this forever until the end of time." Yi Qinghan's gentle and sincere confession made the two of them gradually quiet down. Yi Qingyu stopped wriggling and pouted. She seemed to be angry and angry. Meanwhile, Yu Qingqing opened her eyes and looked at the side of Yi Qinghan's face. An intoxicating smile appeared at the corner of her mouth. The three of them didn't talk anymore. Instead, they snuggled together and enjoyed the embrace that came a few years late. After a while, Yi Qinghan smiled helplessly. He suddenly opened his eyes and said, "Qingsheng, tomorrow, you and your great supreme elder will go back to the Yu clan?" "Huh?" Yu Qingsheng raised her head and revealed a puzzled expression. Yi Qingwu also turned to look at Yi Qinghan. "Go back and wait for me to go to the Yu clan to propose marriage. Sister Xiao Wu, you should also stay in the Yi clan castle. When I come back, I will solemnly propose marriage to Grandpa Green Ox. At that time, I will marry you and Qingyu at the same time," Yi Qinghan said with a smile. Propose marriage? Yi Qingwu and Yu Qingsheng were surprised. However, they were shy again. Yu Qingsheng understood the meaning of Yi Qinghan's words. She opened her eyes wide and asked, "Where are you going? When will you go there?" "I'll leave shortly. It's not a big deal. Don't worry. I'm going to the Dark Forest with our forefather to thank Lord Devour for saving Qingyu. I'll be back in 10 days or half a month. Forefather is the god realm expert of the Yi family. It's not a problem. Xiao Wu knows it." Yi Qinghan was afraid that they would worry about him, so he explained hurriedly, "You're leaving immediately?" A trace of disappointment flashed through Yu Qingqing's eyes. They had only been together for a few days, and now they were going to be separated again. However, when she saw Yi Qingwu nod, she relaxed. Yu Shishui had told her that the Yi family had a god realm expert. Now that Yi Qingwu had confirmed it, she didn't say anything else. Instead, she stubbornly insisted on staying in the Yi family castle and waiting for Yi Qinghan to return. She was still waiting for Yi Qinghan to tell her everything that had happened to him in the Fallen God Mountain. At the same time, she also wanted to tell him how much she had missed him. After pondering for a moment, she said, "I'll wait for you at the Yi family castle. As for the marriage proposal, we'll talk about it after you're back." "All right, come." Yi Qinghan stood up and touched his unfettered ring. 2 pieces of snow-white soft armor appeared in his hand. The 2 pieces of soft armor were very beautiful. They looked like they were weaved from swan feathers, and they emitted a faint, holy light. "These are 2 pieces of Saint Artifact soft armor. I left them especially for the 2 of you. They can withstand a single blow from a saint. I've never given you a decent gift before. This time, I've made up for it." Yi Qinghan handed one to each of them and kissed them on the cheeks. "I don't want them. Give them to little sister Qingyu." Yi Qingwu spat and said. She hurriedly wiped her mouth and handed over the soft armor. Yu Qingsheng was used to Yi Qinghan's hooligan habits. Back on the Nether Island, she had taken advantage of him quite a bit. She shook her head and said, "I don't want them either." "Han, you can wear them yourself." "Take them and wear them. Qingyu has them, and so do I. Don't forget that I obtained quite a few treasures from the Fallen God Mountain. Our clan doesn't lack saint artifacts." "All right, that's it. The ancestor is still waiting for me. When I come back, I'll tell you about the things that have happened over the years." Yi Qinghan took their hands again and fiercely hugged them. Then, she kissed them lightly on their foreheads and directly teleported and disappeared from the dancing garden. Then, Yi Qinghan bid farewell to Feng Zihua and Long Sainan and went to the back mountain of the Yi family. As for Yi Tianlong and the others, Yi Baihu would go and inform them. When Yi Ruoshui saw that Yi Qinghan had finished his business, she nodded at Yi Baihu and released a small gravitational field, which enveloped the 2 of them. Then, she brought them into the sky and flew towards the north like a meteor. In the blink of an eye, they disappeared. Chapter 281. The Dark Forest was located in the northernmost part of the Fire Dragon continent. It was a vast forest with countless demon beasts and abundant herbs and natural treasures. However, not many warriors dared to explore it. At most, they would wander around the outermost area. They didn't dare to go deeper because those who went deeper had never come out. It was unknown how many years ago, but the Dark Forest was known as a dangerous place. It was rumored that demons lived in the Dark Forest. Some said that there were dozens of sacred beasts in the forest, and anyone who entered would die. However, all the top experts on the continent knew that there was a beautiful and luxurious castle in the Dark Forest where a woman lived. She called herself Lord Devour. Lord Devour wasn't famous at first. She had established her position as the most powerful expert on the continent 4,000 years ago. At that time, many experts didn't believe her and entered the Dark Forest to search for treasures, but they were killed. In the end, the Divine City was curious, so it sent a team led by 3 sacred-level experts to investigate. However, as soon as the team entered the forest, they disappeared like mud falling into the sea. The god Lord was enraged. He had just built the Divine City and established his unparalleled position on the continent not long ago. How could he be challenged? Thus, he brought his people and left the Divine City, declaring that he would flatten the Dark Forest. However, only the god Lord too returned to the Divine City after they entered the forest. He went into seclusion and didn't mention anything about the Dark Forest again. At the same time, all the Saint Realm experts on the continent received a message. Lord Devour's message to the Dark Forest. The Dark Forest doesn't welcome humans. Anyone who enters will be killed. The experts on the continent didn't know what happened when the god Lord too entered the Dark Forest. But this did not prevent them from understanding some things and understanding some things from it. Apparently, Lord Devour had defeated the god Lord Tuesday. She was the undisputed most powerful expert on the Fire Dragon continent. From then on, all the families and mansions had one more rule: never provoke Lord Devour of the Dark Forest. The Dark Forest became one of the 3 most dangerous places on the continent. Then, a small number of God Realm experts on the continent found out that Lord Devour wasn't a human, but a divine beast. Everyone understood why she never joined the fights on the continent and didn't want to unify the continent. It was easy to understand. Would a powerful person be interested in a fight between ants? To the experts of the continent, the magical beasts in the forest were like ants. But to Lord Devour, the people of the Flame Dragon continent were just ants. Yi Ruoshui carried Yi Qinghan and Yi Qingyu and flew at high speed. It only took them 5 days to reach the outside of the Dark Forest. Moreover, he did not dare to teleport while carrying the 2 of them. If he teleported, his speed would be even faster. Yes, we've arrived. Let's go down first. Yi Ruoshui descended rapidly. Just as she was about to reach the ground, her speed suddenly slowed down. Finally, she landed steadily on the ground. Yi Ruoshui smiled and said, "You 2 should take a rest first. You must be tired after traveling for a few days." Great ancestor, why don't we go straight into the Dark Forest? Yi Qinghan shook his body to stretch his muscles and asked curiously, I have to talk to Lord Devour first to show my courtesy." Yi Ruoshui forced a smile and sent a message to Yi Qinghan. Lord Devour wasn't someone anyone could meet. The last time he came to the Dark Forest, he had to stay for several months before Lord Devour allowed him to enter the Dark Castle. However, he did not see Lord Devour and only stayed in the castle for a while. Although it was Lord Devour who asked them to come, Yi Ruoshui still had to ask for his permission to show her respect to Lord Devour. Then, Yi Ruoshui spread her soul consciousness all the way until it reached the beautiful castle in the middle of the forest. Then, she sent a message. Yi Ruoshui brings Yi Qinghan and Yi Qingyu to meet Lord Devour. Come in. After a while, a cold voice echoed in their ears. The voice was still cold and emotionless. Go. Let's go. Yi Ruoshui did not waste any time. She pulled the 2 of them and flew to the center of the forest. This time, Yi Ruoxue did not fly too fast or too high. She just flew close to the sky of the forest. Along the way, Yi Qinghan and Yi Qingyu curiously observed this legendary forbidden land. The forest was very ancient. There were countless 10,000-year-old ancient trees, thick ancient vines, and unknown exotic flowers and fruits. Everything was telling the story of the ancient and vicissitudes of the dark forest. There were countless demon beasts in the forest, which dazzled Yi Qinghan and Yi Qingyu. There was a giant ape that was over 10 meters in size and the size of a small hill, a berserk lion with 3 blood-red eyes, a black horse with wings, and a pack of hundreds of thousands of black wind wolves. The strange thing was that even though the 3 of them were flying at a low altitude, the magical beasts in the forest only looked at them strangely. They were not afraid, nor did they attack. Some of the stronger magical beasts even looked at the 3 of them with disdainful eyes. Don't be surprised and don't provoke them. The demon beasts in the dark forest are a little arrogant because of Lord Devour's existence. Of course, they will never attack humans or walk out of the dark forest. Yi Ruoxue explained to Yi Qinghan through sound transmission when she saw that he was confused. Yi Qinghan understood after listening to her. These high-level demon beasts had high intellect. Because of Lord Devour's existence, they were very respectful to the visitors in the forest. They felt like the citizens of a great country seeing the envoys of a small tribe. It was a kind of outstanding feeling that had been born for thousands of years. After more than an hour, the 3 of them finally reached the center of the forest. Yi Qinghan looked at the strange terrain and the faintly visible black castle in front of him. He knew that they had reached their destination. This was because there was not a single ancient tree here. Below them was a boundless piece of flat land, and the flat land was filled with flowers. Countless flowers of all kinds. The whole area had become a sea of flowers. All kinds of fresh flowers were competing with each other. It was beautiful. So beautiful. So beautiful. It was the first time that Yi Qingyu had seen such a beautiful scene. She couldn't help but exclaim. Her eyes were full of surprise and joy. Don't talk. We are about to reach the dark castle. Both of you, pay attention. When we reach the castle, follow me. Don't talk and don't touch anything inside. Yi Ruoxue quickly warned them in a low voice. Yi Qinghan didn't say anything. He just stared blankly at the huge castle that was getting closer and closer. There was also a strange creature standing in front of the castle gate. The castle was huge. It was a few hundred meters wide and more than 100 meters tall. The whole castle was made of unknown black stones. Strangely, Yi Qinghan didn't see any gaps on the walls. It was as if the castle was a single entity. The entire castle stood there quietly, but at a glance, it was as if a giant black beast was entrenched there, silently exuding a faint pressure. The castle had a gate. At this moment, the gate was opened. A strange creature was standing in front of the gate. It was a strange creature that looked like a fox, but it wasn't a fox. It looked like a human, but it wasn't. It was a fox, but it was standing upright like a human. It was wearing a fiery red robe. It had a human-like smile on its face. It stood elegantly outside the gate, like a noble lady. However, it had a few snow-white tails behind it. It had a face that was no different from a fox's. Under its clothes, it had a pair of cute little furry hands. All of these betrayed its fox identity. However, it didn't look like a demon. After all, demons were still humans. It was just that the various demon races only had some characteristics of demon beasts. However, this fox looked exactly like a fox. Its expression and posture were exactly the same as a human's. It was very strange. Welcome to the Dark Castle. Yi Ruoxue, long time no see. You must be Yi Qinghan. What a handsome young man. There's also a cute little girl. When Yi Ruoxue brought Yi Qinghan and landed in front of the castle gate, the fox suddenly opened its furry mouth and spoke. It gave Yi Qinghan and Yi Qingyu a fright. Even the hair on their bodies stood up. A fox can talk. Chapter 282. Greetings, Lord Jiu. It's been 5 years since we last met, and Lord Jiu's strength has improved yet again. Yi Ruoxue smiled and cupped her hands in greeting. She then turned her head to the side and said to Yi Qing Han and Yi Qing Yu, "Why haven't the two of you paid your respects to Lord Jiu? Lord Jiu is a powerful deity-level expert." "Greetings, Lord Jiu." Yi Qing Han and Yi Qing Yu hurriedly came to their senses and bowed. Yi Qing Han thought to himself, "It's actually another divine beast, and a divine beast can actually speak the human language after maturing? Doesn't that mean that after Xiaohe enters the mature stage, he can also speak directly and doesn't need to use telepathy?" You may dispense with the formalities. "Come in," Lord Jiu said, and directly walked inside. Behind the door was a wide corridor, and the corridor was covered with a fiery red carpet. There were a few forks in the corridor. After walking a few steps, Lord Jiu pointed at a fork in the corridor and said, "Yi Ruoshe, bring this young lady to the side chamber to rest. There is some spiritual fruit wine inside, and you can taste it as you please. I will first bring Yi Qing Han to see Lord Jiu." Brother. Yi Qing Yu hurriedly pulled on Yi Qing Han's sleeves and cried out in worry. "Qing Yu, be good. Brother will come to find you in a moment. You and elder ancestor can go first." Yi Qing Han lightly patted the back of Yi Qing Yu's hand, indicating that she and Yi Ruoshe should go first. "Let's go, little girl." Yi Ruoshe hurriedly signaled with her eyes and pulled the reluctant Yi Qing Yu towards the side chamber. "Lucky young man, follow me." Madame Jiu smiled faintly. Her foxy face actually revealed a trace of human affection. After she finished speaking, she gracefully took small steps towards a fork on the left. As she walked, she instructed Yi Qing Han, "Yi Qing Han, when you meet Madame later, don't talk too much and don't look around. Whatever Madame asks you, just answer honestly. Whatever Madame wants you to do, don't disobey. Otherwise, if you anger Madame, the three of you won't be able to return." The corridor on the left was connected to a straight staircase. The staircase was very long, and at the top was a red door. The top of the stairs was covered with a fiery red carpet. The carpet was very clean and spotless. Yi Qing Han followed Lord Jiu quickly as he listened to her warning attentively. He felt a little uneasy. He was about to meet the legendary strongest expert of the continent. Although this expert seemed to be related to Xiaohe, he wasn't confident before everything was clear. After all, if Lord Devour wanted to kill him, no one in this world could save him, not even Elder Lu. "We're here. Go in by yourself. Remember what I said just now." After walking for a while, Yi Qing Han followed Madame Jiu to the glowing red door. Madame Jiu stopped in her tracks and pointed at the door, indicating for Yi Qing Han to go in by himself. Squeak! Yi Qing Han nodded and didn't think much. He puffed up his chest, pushed the door open, and walked in. Outside the door was an open-air rooftop. At first glance, he could see countless flower pots. These flower pots were arranged in a very orderly manner, forming all sorts of beautiful patterns. On the left of the flower pots was a large pond with countless beautiful little fishes swimming in it. On the right of the flower pots was a huge grape rack, which was filled with clusters of fresh grapes. Under the shelf, there was a diamond-shaped crystal table. On the table, there were a few plates of translucent fruits that Yi Qing Han did not recognize. Beside the table, there was only a rocking chair woven from old vines. There was someone sitting on the rocking chair. Yi Qing Han looked over, only to see a silhouette from the side. He had a head of black hair, a cold face, and a fiery red robe. There's a lady here?" Yi Qing Han was a little puzzled. He lifted his head and looked around, but didn't find anything. After pondering for a while, he took a few steps forward and cupped his fists at the lady. "Yi Qing Han pays his respects to you, madam. May I ask where Lord Devour is? I've come as invited." The lady didn't say anything. She was holding a green scroll in her hand, reading it quietly. Yi Qing Han didn't dare to say anything, nor did he dare to look around. He could only stand there quietly and wait for the woman's reply. He stood there for more than an hour. The lady didn't seem to notice Yi Qing Han, still reading the scroll with great interest. The rooftop was quiet, except for the rustling sound of the lady flipping the pages of the book. Another hour had passed. When Yi Qing Han was a little impatient and was about to ask again, the lady suddenly put down the book in her hand. The woman suddenly put down the book in her hand, turned around and looked coldly at Yi Qinghan. Her eyes are so terrifying. As soon as Yi Qinghan and the lady's eyes met, he felt like he was looking at two dazzling lights. He felt dizzy and didn't dare to look at her anymore. He bowed his head and waited for the lady to speak. The lady still didn't say anything, just coldly looking at Yi Qinghan. Her eyes were as sharp as knives, which made Yi Qinghan feel a burning pain all over his body. At this moment, Yi Qinghan felt like he was stripped naked under her gaze. He didn't have any secrets to hide. After a while, Yi Qinghan finally lost his patience. Being stared at by a lady like that, he felt uncomfortable. He clasped his fist one more time. "Madam, may I ask, where is Lord Devour?" The lady finally opened her mouth. Her voice was cold and emotionless. "I'm Lord Devour." Ah! Hearing this familiar, clear voice, Yi Qinghan was bewildered. He couldn't believe it. "You're Lord Devour?" "Lord Devour isn't he a god?" Yi Qinghan wanted to say that Lord Devour was a divine beast, wasn't he? The lady in front of him was a real person. However, he didn't dare to continue as he was afraid that he would annoy the lady in red. Can a divine beast transform into a human? Ignorant. The lady sneered but didn't say anything else. She continued to stare at Yi Qinghan. After a while, she slowly opened her mouth. "Yi Qinghan, do you know that I really want to kill you?" The lady's casual words made Yi Qinghan feel as if he had fallen into the 9 netherworlds. His entire body was chilled. Lord Devour didn't release his aura or move much. It was just a simple sentence, but it had frozen Yi Qinghan's blood. At the same time, his soul became sluggish, and he couldn't control his body anymore. At this moment, Yi Qinghan felt that he could smell the aura of death. After a while, the soul ring on his left hand released a flow of energy, which restored Yi Qinghan's body. When he felt that he could control his body again, Yi Qinghan exhaled in relief. So many thoughts flashed in his head. After a while, he gritted his teeth and said, "Lord Devour wants to kill me. I can only wait for my death. Don't pretend. If I want to kill you, I can take your life at any time. Even if you hide in the unfettered pavilion, I can still kill you." Lord Devour opened his mouth one more time, shocking Yi Qinghan one more time. She even knew about the unfettered pavilion. It seemed that Lord Devour's supernatural power was too strong to resist. At least at this moment, Yi Qinghan couldn't resist it. Since he couldn't resist it, there was no need to be afraid. Yi Qinghan slowly lifted his head, looking at Lord Devour and asking boldly, "Why does Lord Devour want to kill me?" Lord Devour swung his sleeve, his face cold. A formidable aura burst out from his body, covering Yi Qinghan. His voice became even colder. "Because you got something that you shouldn't have." Chapter 283. Although Lord Devour's aura was soaring, it was obvious that he had controlled it. Otherwise, even Tin Yi Qinghan could be smashed into meat paste. Yi Qinghan just felt a little annoyed. Seeing Lord Devour's rage, he couldn't help but ask anxiously, "Is it because of Xiaohe?" "Harumph!" Lord Devour snorted and retrieved his aura. He stood up, walking out of the grape trellis. With his back facing Yi Qinghan, he looked at the sea of flowers outside the castle. After a while, he opened his mouth, but his voice wasn't as cold as before. It was a little lonely and begrudging. "Xiaohe's a soul-devouring beast, a divine beast, and a very powerful one at that. Do you think that a mortal like you is qualified to have him?" "No." Yi Qinghan contemplated for a while, and then answered honestly. Xiaohe was really heaven-defying. If it weren't for Xiaohe, Yi Qinghan would still be the 7th son of the Yi family, and his mother's grave would still be on the west mountain of Song City. It could be said that his current competence and status were all because of Xiaohe. Even if he had the soul ring, he wouldn't have a big achievement. Pondering for a while, Yi Qinghan didn't wait for Lord Devour's response. He continued, "Of course, I'm not qualified to have Xiaohe. Moreover, I've never had him. Because Xiaohe isn't an object. I've always considered him as a living being, as my little brother. We're not master and servant. He's not my pet. He's my little brother, a brother who has fought with me all his life. Harumph. Yi Qinghan's sincere words didn't move Lord Devour. Lord Devour turned around and coldly glared at Yi Qinghan. If it weren't for that, I would have killed you several years ago. Don't think that I can't kill you because you've signed a soul contract with Xiaohe. After killing you, I can keep Xiaohe alive without any harm. I'm just afraid of hurting Xiaohe's heart. Besides, your aptitude is barely passable. Perhaps you'll have some achievements in the future. That's why I spared your life. This Lord Devour was too awesome. Yi Qinghan felt a chill in his heart. After all, Xiaohe had signed a soul contract with him. If he died, Xiaohe's soul would dissipate along with him. And now, Lord Devour said that she could make Xiaohe break the soul contract with her? To be able to strip it from his body. What kind of divine ability was this? At the same time, he secretly rejoiced. Ever since Xiaohe learned to transmit sound in the Savage Mountains, Yi Qinghan and Xiaohe's relationship improved day by day. In the end, they were as close as real brothers. Otherwise, he wouldn't even know how he died. Sigh. Perhaps this is fate. Lord Devour turned around, sighing weakly. That year, when I brought Xiaohe to the Fire Dragon continent, I thought I could let him grow up in peace. But because of something, I left for 1 year. I didn't expect that with the help of the Soul Ring and the Bloodline Awakening ceremony of the Yi family, you could break the restriction I had set up in the Misty Forest. You summoned Xiaohe and made a soul contract with him. When I came back, I wanted to kill you directly. However, I was worried that Xiaohe's soul was too fragile, so I didn't do it. Until now, Xiaohe has considered you as his closest friend. I was afraid that he would be sad, so I didn't kill you. What? So, it was like that. At this moment, Yi Qinghan recalled what had happened several years ago when his bloodline had awakened. He was suddenly enlightened. That year, the concentration of God's blood in his bloodline was very low, and he got his father's scripture of theology. After cultivating for half a month, he had to bleed, eat raw animals' internal organs, and pierce his blood. In the end, his blood was cut, which led to his meridians exploding, and he had fainted. When he woke up, his soul consciousness had entered the summoning space and successfully summoned Xiaohe. Originally, he had thought that it was because of his father's scripture of God's blood. He didn't expect that it was because of the soul ring. And the magical valley where Xiaohe used to live was probably the home that Lord Devour had arranged for Xiaohe in the Misty Forest. No wonder why only the cubs could come here. Lord Devour had set up a restriction to let the cubs come here. They could play with Xiaohe to prevent him from being lonely, and they could help Xiaohe grow faster. The yuan qi in the valley was very rich, which was suitable for Xiaohe to grow. At the same time, it attracted the cubs of the nearby powerful beasts. Xiaohe was a divine beast, which was 1 level higher than the holy beasts. He had the pressure of a divine beast. No wonder the beasts and the 4 holy beast cubs were so afraid of Xiaohe that they ran away as soon as they saw Xiaohe. However, Yi Qinghan still had a question that he hadn't figured out. Why did he summon Xiaohe with the help of the Soul Ring? Was Xiaohe related to the owner of the Soul Ring, the Soul Emperor? What was the relationship between Lord Devour and Xiaohe? Of course, Yi Qinghan didn't dare to ask Lord Devour. After all, he had done something wrong. How could he dare to ask more? Lord Devour could kill him at any time and take Xiaohe out of his beast space. Recalling that Lord Devour had said that she would spare his life for now, Yi Qinghan became more anxious. He had stolen Xiaohe, so this woman must be angry. However, she had given a divine crystal to her sister. Moreover, she hadn't killed him after so many years. His life should be safe for now, right? Don't be so happy. If you can't satisfy me, I will kill you at any time. Even if I have to pay a big price, I will break the soul contract between you and Xiaohe. I will take Xiaohe out of your body. Indeed, before Yi Qinghan could rejoice, Lord Devour spoke again. Since you could get the soul ring by chance and summon Xiaohe through it, you and I are fated. So, I want to give you a chance. As long as you can do it, I won't do anything to hurt Xiaohe. Looking at Lord Devour's cold eyes and feeling her unparalleled aura, Yi Qinghan knew that Lord Devour was telling the truth. From Lord Devour's attitude toward him, he knew that she would do what she said. Immediately, Yi Qinghan put on a serious face, clasping his fists. Lord Devour, please tell me. Yi Qinghan will try his best to satisfy you. What a joke! It was related to his life, so he didn't dare to be careless. In other words, even if Lord Devour wanted to take Xiao He out of his body and spare his life, he would be reluctant. No matter what, Xiao He had been with him for so many years, and he had become an inseparable part of his flesh and blood. I want you to break through to the heavenly god realm within 50 years, Lord Devour said faintly, as if he was talking about something trivial. If you can't break through within 50 years, I'm sorry. After saying that, Lord Devour didn't wait for Yi Qinghan's answer, continuing, Moreover, don't expect me to help you. I've never participated in the disputes of the continent. Moreover, even if you're going to die, I can only protect Xiao He at the moment of your death. You have to rely on yourself to become a god, and you have to do it within 50 years, or else you will die without a doubt. Become a god within 50 years, or else I will die without a doubt. Yi Qinghan felt like a heavy mountain was pressing on his shoulder, which made him unable to straighten his back and gasp for breath. His body shivered. Become a god? Who didn't want to become a god? The ultimate goal of all the warriors in the continent was to become a god. However, how many gods were there in the Fire Dragon continent? Becoming a god wasn't just about cultivating hard. It depended on one's comprehension of the principle, chance, and luck. Not to mention the god realm, the number of Saint Realm warriors in the continent could be counted. And now, Lord Devour wanted him to become a god, or within 50 years. Yi Qinghan contemplated, stooping his head and closing his eyes for a long time. When he opened his eyes one more time, his eyes were filled with a fierce fighting will. Unconsciously, his entire body emitted an indomitable aura. He gazed at Lord Devour, his voice resolute. 5 or 6 years ago, I was just a trash at the first level of the elite realm. Today, I've become an Emperor Realm warrior, the #1 genius of the continent. I believe that as long as I work hard, I will break through this sky sooner or later. I promise you, within 50 years, I will try my best to break through to the heavenly god realm. Chapter 284. I don't need your consent. I just want to tell you my decision. Yi Qinghan's emotional words didn't affect Lord Devour. It seemed this woman was always cold and inhuman. She paused for a while, then waved her hand. Summon Xiao He. You can leave now. I'm going to talk to him. Yes, Lord Devour. Yeah, I have to thank Lord Devour for giving my sister such a precious divine crystal. I'm so grateful. Yi Qinghan bowed to greet him. Yi Qingyu was very important to him. Moreover, Lord Devour was his benefactor, and he had to repay the favor. He understood this clearly. It's to thank you for taking care of Xiao He for so many years. I've never owed anyone a favor. Summon Xiao He. Lord Devour waved his hand, signaling Yi Qinghan to summon Xiao He. Then he could leave. Facing this incomparably powerful and cold woman, Yi Qinghan felt a sense of helplessness. Although he was skeptical, as Xiao He couldn't talk, how could Lord Devour communicate with him? However, he didn't dare to ask more. He summoned Xiao He, bowed to him, and then slowly retreated to the gate. Ha! Boss, you leave now. I'll come for you later. I won't leave you. As soon as Xiao He was summoned, Yi Qinghan placed him on the diamond-shaped crystal table. Xiao He had heard the conversation between Yi Qinghan and Lord Devour. Lord Devour treated Yi Qinghan that way, which made Xiao He indignant. However, he knew that Lord Devour was really intimidating, and he had a close relationship with him. Most importantly, he wanted to know his origin from Lord Devour. He didn't say anything, just calling Yi Qinghan twice. After using the soul message, he turned around and looked at Lord Devour with a complicated look. Until now, Master Devour had always been cold. Looking at Xiao He's little body on the crystal table, she beamed a smile for the first time. It was a friendly smile. She opened her mouth, her voice tender and kind. Kid, I haven't seen you for years. You've grown up, little Han. Follow me. Yi Ching Han opened the door and walked into the staircase, only to see Lord Jiao standing at the foot of the stairs. When she saw him, a trace of a smile appeared on her face. She actually changed the way she addressed him and led Yi Ching Han down the stairs. Yi Ching Han smiled and followed Lord Jiao down the stairs. They walked through several long corridors and finally arrived at a magnificent hall. The main hall was very big, and the decorations were very luxurious. It looked even more luxurious than the carefree pavilion. There were two people in the hall, Yi Ruoshui and Yi Qingyu. Brother, you're back. At this moment, Yi Qingyu was absent-mindedly sitting on a dark gold soft chair, fiddling with a jade cup on the table next to her. However, her eyes were gazing at the entrance of the hall. Seeing Yi Ching Han come in, she hurried to stand up, shouting happily, "Ha! You three should rest here for a while." After Master Devour and Master Xiaohei are done talking, you can go back. Lord Jiao gracefully bowed and left. Little Han? Seeing Yi Ching Han's bitter face, Yi Ruoshui couldn't help but look at him worriedly. I'm okay. Yi Ching Han sat on a soft chair next to Yi Qingyu. He shook his head at Yi Ruoshui, signaling her to talk later. He picked up a round pink fruit from the square table and started to eat it. Yeah, it tastes good. You guys should eat it. What kind of fruit is it? After eating it, your whole body feels warm. As soon as Yi Ching Han ate it, he found that this fruit was even more delicious than the spirit fruits in the Luotian Mountains' illusory land. Of course, he didn't hesitate to pick up another one, handing it to Yi Qingyu, shouting, Master Devour was the strongest warrior in the continent, and even the divine beast Lord Jiao was her servant. How could the fruit she used to greet guests be bad? It would be a waste not to eat it, but it wasn't a waste to eat it. Yi Ching Han was in a bad mood, so of course he didn't hesitate to eat it. Yi Ching Han and Yi Qingyu bluntly began to gorge themselves on the food. Yi Ruoshui, on the other hand, took into consideration her status. She only picked up a green-colored drink and drank it while looking at the two of them in amusement and anger. Half an hour later, a shadow flashed through the entrance of the hall and directly jumped into Yi Ching Han's arms. It was Xiaohei. Okay, you guys can go back. After Xiaohei, Lord Jiao walked in with a small jade box in her cute hairy hands, saying to the three of them, Okay, Lord Jiao, we'll leave first. If you have time, come to Song City to play. I'll treat you well. Yi Ruoshui stood up, clasping her hands to greet Lord Jiao. There will be a chance. Little Han, take this jade box. Lord Jiao's mouth twitched, revealing a smile. She handed the jade box to Yi Ching Han, saying, Of course, it's not for you. This is for Xiaohei. There are 5 black unicorn fruits in it. Every 10 years, Xiaohei has to eat one. Lord also said to give him less barbecued meat, spirit fruits, and dragon crystals. It will create impurities, which are not good for the divine beast's growth. Okay, Lord Jiao, I'll remember. Yi Ching Han laughed, putting the jade box into his unfettered ring. Then he grabbed 2 more pink fruits from the table, following Yi Ruoshui out. Lord Jiao, see you later. Walking out of the dark castle, Yi Ruoshui nodded to Lord Jiao, then took Yi Ching Han and Yi Qingyu and flew to the south. Ninth Elder stretched out a hand and waved in the direction that Yi Ruoshui had flown in. He watched them leave, then smiled faintly and muttered, we will definitely meet again. Moreover, it won't be too long. Little Han's luck is really too nature-defying, so nature-defying that it makes one's eyes red with envy. At this moment, on the rooftop of the castle, Lord Devour was also bewildered, watching Yi Ruoshui's back. Her face wasn't as cold as before, but a bit helpless and bitter. Finally, she sighed and said something that only she could hear. Yi Ching Han, don't blame me for being cruel. I have no other choice. Since you have something, you have to choose to bear it. I hope you can pierce through this sky. Yi Ruoshui brought the 2 humans and 1 beast and quickly flew towards the south. Because they were going back, they didn't hold back and flew very high. After a short while, They flew out of the dark forest and headed straight for Tsang City. Xiaohei, Lord Devour can understand you? Yi Qinghan didn't have anything to do in the air, so he started to transmit his voice to Xiaohei. He was curious how Lord Devour could communicate with Xiaohei. Yeah, she's really powerful. She can talk to me directly in my soul, just like the two of us. I don't need to say anything. She knows it just by thinking about it. Xiaohei seemed to be in a good mood after talking with Lord Devour. Her voice sounded excited. Yes, so powerful? Yi Qinghan was speechless. He continued to ask curiously, "What did she tell you? Did she tell you about your origin?" No, she just said that my parents aren't in the fiery dragon continent. She said that my competence is still weak. She will tell me everything after I've reached the God realm. Yeah, she said that I need at least 10 years to mature. She said that the divine beast's maturation period is relatively long. She told me not to hurry and to have fun. She will take care of the other things, Xiaohei said reluctantly. Your parents aren't in the fiery dragon continent? Did she tell you what her relationship with you was? Yi Qinghan felt strange. He had thought that Lord Devour would be Xiaohei's mother or grandmother. They were both divine beasts with the same surname of Devour. Moreover, Lord Devour said that she had brought Xiaohei to the fiery dragon continent. Xiaohei kept silent for a while, then transmitted his voice. Yeah, she said that according to seniority, she's my aunt, but we're not related by blood. Chapter 285. Annie? Not related by blood? Yi Qinghan was surprised. He didn't expect that Xiaohei and Lord Devour had such a relationship. What he couldn't figure out was why Lord Devour brought Xiaohei to the Fire Dragon continent if they weren't related by blood. Where were Xiaohei's parents? Why did Lord Devour choose to live in the Fire Dragon continent? Where did she and Xiaohei come from? However, Yi Qinghan asked Xiaohei a few more questions, but he didn't get a definite answer. It seemed that he would only know many things after Xiaohei matured. Originally, Yi Qinghan wanted to know something from the conversation between Blackie and Master Devour. He wanted to know why Master Devour had given him such an impossible task, and he wanted to see if he could find a way to ease the situation. Now that he thought about it, it seemed impossible. He couldn't help but feel uneasy. Boss, don't think too much. Just try your best. If it doesn't work, I will beg. Annie, I will never let her hurt you, and I won't be separated from you. You will always be my boss. Xiaohei sensed Yi Qinghan's mood and became a little anxious. She hurried to comfort him through telepathy. Well, there will always be a way. The road will be straight when it comes to the bridgehead, right? Yi Qinghan smiled bitterly, but he was still depressed. He thought that he could meet his relatives and get some treasures in the dark forest. With the protection of the continent's #1 powerhouse, he could do whatever he wanted in the Fire Dragon continent and live a happy life. He didn't expect that someone would install a time bomb on him. If he couldn't solve it, he would be smashed into pieces when the time was up. Boss, don't be so sad. Don't you still have 50 years? Believe in yourself. I believe that you can create a miracle. Xiaohei had mixed feelings as well. He was looking forward to meeting his family and learning about his background on the way to the dark forest. He didn't expect that things would turn out like this. Although his aunt was very kind to him, and he could feel Lord Devour's love and care for him from the bottom of his heart. However, he had asked Lord Devour why she had treated Yi Qinghan that way. Unexpectedly, Lord Devour was resolute on this matter. He didn't want to say anything, and Shurian didn't have any solution. 50 years is still a long time. Yes, in 6 years, I went from an elite realm trash to an emperor realm expert. There are still 50 years left. I don't believe that I can't break through to the deity level. Yi Qinghan fell silent for a moment and stopped thinking about it. He was only 21 years old. There were still 50 years left. 50 years was still very far away for him. By that time, he would already be over 70 years old. Even if he died, it would not be considered a premature death. As long as he worked hard and tried his best, it did not matter. It was not like he had never died before. As he thought about it, his mood gradually became cheerful. As long as one lived a wonderful life, it did not matter how many years he lived. Done talking? At this time, Yi Ruoshui transmitted her voice to him. Apparently, she had been paying attention to Yi Qinghan. Yes, forefather. Yi Qinghan turned his head and saw that Yi Ruoshui was transmitting her voice to him. She probably wanted to know about the conversation between him and Lord Devour, but she didn't want Yi Qingyu to know. Hence, he also transmitted his voice. Tell me everything about the conversation between you and Lord Devour and Xiao He. As expected, Yi Ruoshui directly asked about this matter. Yi Qinghan thought for a while and felt that there was no need to hide this matter. Hence, he transmitted his voice to Yi Ruoshui honestly. After listening to him, Yi Ruoshui frowned. After a long silence, she transmitted her voice again. It seems like it's a good thing, but it's also a disaster. Lord Devour has high expectations for you. If you can break through to the God realm within 50 years, I think your future will be bright. Perhaps you can solve it? Yeah, perhaps with Lord Devour's help. You can leave the Fire Dragon continent, this dead well, and go to a bigger arena. He wants you to break through to the God realm within 50 years, and he won't give you any help. I think it's a test for you. Of course, if you can't break through, I guess he won't kill you. But Xiao He will be taken away. So Sai, try your best. Yi Ruoshui turned to look at Yi Qinghan. She had almost told him the secret of the Fire Dragon continent. However, as she thought that Yi Qinghan was still a teenager, and he already had a heavy burden on his back, it would be too heavy if he was shackled again. Thus, she changed the topic immediately. Yes, forefather. I will try my best. Although Yi Qinghan felt that Yi Ruoshui's words had some problems, he didn't think much and just kept silent. A few days later, the three of them flew to the mountain behind the Yi family. Yi Ruoshui directly landed beside a small lake. Little Han, rest well and cultivate well. Don't worry about anything else. I will think of a way. Yi Ruoshui patted Yi Qinghan's shoulder to comfort him. Then he turned to look at Yi Qingyu and encouraged her. Little Yu, cultivate hard and try to break through to the God realm as soon as possible. In the future, you will be able to help your brother even more. After saying that, he took out 2 jade talismans from his bosom and gave them to Yi Qinghan and Yi Qingyu. Then he said again, if you want to find me, directly inject your battle chi into the messaging talisman, and I will immediately know. You can play around in the House of Aries, but don't leave the House of Aries. I will leave first. After saying that, Yi Ruoshui directly teleported and returned to the place where he cultivated in seclusion. There were many things that he needed to think about, and there were also many things that he was very concerned about, such as the divine sword. Xiao. As soon as Yi Ruoshui disappeared, 2 figures flashed out from a group of small pavilions in the distance. It was Yi Tianlong and Yi Qingyu. Obviously, they had noticed the 3 of them. Grandpa, Grand Elder, Eldest Grandpa, Second Grandpa, Yi Qinghan, and Yi Qingyu greeted them at the same time. You have returned so quickly. Yes, go and rest first. We can talk about it later. Little Han, do you want to continue living in the mountain behind or go to the castle? I have specially built a garden for you at the place where you used to live. It is very good, Yi Tianlong said with a smile, waving his hand casually. Build a garden for me? At the place where I used to live? Hearing this, Yi Qinghan's interest was piqued. The scenery at the back of the mountain was good, and it was also very quiet. However, living with Yi Tianlong and the others was a bit uncomfortable, and he wasn't used to it. Now that he heard that the Yi family had specially built a courtyard for him, and it was on the courtyard that he had burned down, he naturally chose the latter without hesitation. Yes, Qingyu and I will live in the castle. Of course, we will also come to the back of the mountain to stay for a few days if we have nothing to do. Qingyu, you are right. This brat definitely won't be used to living in the back of the mountain. All right, Qingyu, take them down. Little Han, rest well for a few days. I will come and find you in a few days. Yi Tianlong laughed, turned around, and flashed towards the group of pavilions in the distance. Yi Qingyu was too lazy to walk, so he led the 2 of them down the back of the mountain and directly flew towards the east courtyard. Yi Qinghan secretly felt grateful to Yi Qingyu. Yi Qingyu looked careless and had a very bad temper, but he was also very meticulous. He knew that Ling Han had a conflict with the west courtyard, so he specially had someone build a courtyard in the east courtyard where he lived. This was very much to Ling Han's liking. After a short while, they arrived at the east courtyard. Yi Qinghan looked at the familiar scenery around him, as well as the place where he had lived for over a dozen years. When he saw that an extremely beautiful and grand courtyard had been erected in front of him, he couldn't help but feel all sorts of emotions welling up in his heart. The small courtyard that he had lived in for over a dozen years had already disappeared. The nearby buildings had also been demolished, and scenic trees had been planted all over the place. There was a large green courtyard in the midst of the lush green trees. 3 large golden words were glowing on the gate of the courtyard. Chilling Heart Pavilion. Welcome back, young clan head. At this moment, 8 familiar figures walked out of the courtyard, and they walked directly to the gate as they respectfully half-knelt. They had strong bodies that resembled doorposts, and they wore charming smiles on their faces. They were the 8 great door gods of the Yi family. Life is full of ups and downs. Let's go, Qingyu, take a look at our new home. Yi Qinghan chuckled and pulled Yi Qingyu's hand as they walked inside. Chapter 286. The Chilling Heart Pavilion was very big. As soon as they entered the garden, they saw a huge fake mountain. There were small trees on the fake mountain, and there were flowers on the trees. The flowers were pink with a hint of purple, and they were very beautiful. There was a pool under the rockery. The pool was not deep, and there were a few small fishes of different colors swimming happily in it. On both sides of the pool was a smooth bluestone path, and both sides of the path were planted neatly with unknown scenic trees. Along the bluestone road, Yi Qinghan pulled Yi Qingyu all the way forward. In front of them, there were rows of well-proportioned bluestone pavilions. The entire building complex was made of a type of bluestone wood. From afar, they could smell a faint fragrance. Lil Han, not bad, right? The Chilling Heart Pavilion was more than 3,000 square meters, and it had cost a lot of money to build. Just the green zen wood alone was worth tens of thousands of crystal coins. The fragrance of the green zen wood could prolong a person's lifespan, make them more energetic, and increase their vitality. Inside, there's a main hall, 3 side halls, and 24 rooms. The Patriarch has even specially arranged for you 8 gatekeepers and 12 maids. Yi Qingyu slowly caught up to Yi Qinghan and began to explain in detail. Yi Qinghan was secretly speechless when he heard this. Back then, he had traveled to the Savage Mountain Range for a few crystal coins and narrowly escaped death several times. Back then, the small courtyard that he had lived in only had 3 rooms and a kitchen, covering an area of less than 200 square meters. Yet now, there were 3 halls, 24 rooms, and even a front and a backyard. This was way too extravagant. Supreme Elder, isn't this too extravagant? It's too wasteful to have more than 20 rooms. Also, I don't think there's a need for a maid. Yi Qinghan scratched his head in embarrassment. He was not an ancient prince. There was no need to be so particular, right? Although he had successfully changed his identity from the 7th son of the Yi family to the 7th young master of the Yi family. However, he was still not used to such a grand occasion. No waste, no waste. Originally, I wanted to build more, but the chief said that if it didn't work out, we could just build more in the future. Your identity is different now. You have to understand that you are not only representing yourself, but also the Yi family. Moreover, you are about to go to the Yu clan to ask for their hand in marriage. You must be particular about marrying the Yu clan's holy maiden. Yi Qingyu hurriedly waved his hand and said in an unconcerned manner. However, when it came to marrying Yu Qingcheng, a hint of anger flashed in Yi Qingyu's eyes. He stared at Yi Qinghan and actually secretly transmitted his voice to him. Lil Han, when did you steal my precious granddaughter's heart? How are you going to deal with this? When Yi Qinghan heard this, his expression immediately became awkward. He had originally planned to ask Yi Qinghan for her hand in marriage after everything had settled down. He had not expected Yi Qinghan to directly ask for her hand in marriage. Thus, he hurriedly transmitted his voice in slight embarrassment. Qinghan is preparing to marry Qingcheng, Qinggu, and Qingyu together. I was planning to go to your place to ask for her hand in marriage in the next few days. At least you still have a conscience. All right, Remember to bring a few treasures that you've hidden. When Yi Ching Han heard this, his eyes and brows were full of smiles. Yi Ching Han's meaning was very clear. If the three of them were to marry together, then they would be 3 official wives. This would not be a disgrace to Yi Ching-woo's status. Yi Ching-woo was wholeheartedly loyal to Yi Ching Han, so Yi Ching Han could not do anything about it. Moreover, he was very satisfied with Yi Ching Han. Yi Ching-woo could be considered the third person to follow Yi Ching Han after Yi Ching-yu and Yu Ching-ching. Now that she could obtain the status of an official wife, it was not bad. He immediately laughed loudly and glanced at Yi Ching-yu, who was beside him, and said, "You are a dissolute brat. I don't know how many more wives and concubines you will marry in the future. I built a few more rooms for you in preparation for the future. All right, you go in and rest by yourself. I'll be going back first." Yi Ching Han's words did not cause any fluctuation in Yi Ching-yu's emotions. Yi Ching-yu's thoughts were very simple. As long as she could be with Yi Ching Han, she would be very happy and satisfied. She did not care how many wives and concubines Yi Ching Han married. As long as Yi Ching Han was happy, she would be happy. She and Yi Ching Han watched as Yi Ching Han left, then hurriedly pulled his hand and walked into the loft. They began to look around their new home with great curiosity and joy. After looking around, Yi Ching Han was very satisfied with his new home. The entire loft was a duplex building. It had 2 floors, and there was a wide rooftop at the top. The furniture, decorations, and appliances were all brand new. Moreover, the decorations were not very complicated, revealing a hint of nobility and elegance. This made Yi Ching Han feel very comfortable. "What are the names of the 8 of you?" Finally, Yi Ching Han and Yi Ching-yu sat down in the main hall. They looked at the 8 door gods, who were bowing in fear and trepidation as they waited for their orders. "Young clan leader, you can call me Ada. There I air. Asan, Abba." As soon as Yi Ching Han spoke, the person standing at the front of the 8 door gods immediately bowed and smiled. His smile was very bright and carried a hint of charm. They had a very deep impression of Yi Ching Han. After all, they had been very rude and mocking towards Yi Ching Han. Ever since Yi Ching Han caused havoc in the Enchanted Garden and his status in the Yi family sword, they had always been afraid that Yi Ching Han would find trouble with them. Now that the clan leader had bestowed them to Yi Ching Han, they became even more nervous. They were afraid that the clan leader wanted them to be used by Yi Ching Han to vent his anger. "Ada? Asan? Abba? Abba? Which bastard gave you this name?" Sure enough, Yi Ching Han immediately flipped out and cursed. "Young clan leader, you can't blame us. It was second young master who changed it for us. We were also very helpless." The 8 people panicked and immediately knelt down to plead for leniency. "Yi Ching-xian? So it was this idiot. No wonder." Yi Ching Han laughed. He couldn't help but laugh when he thought of this second young master who had been beaten by him several times. "Abba. Abba. Abba." He actually called him Abba, although there was no such thing as Abba in this world. Every time Yi Ching-xian saw Abba, he would call him Abba with a smile. Yi Ching Han couldn't help but laugh again. He waved his hand powerlessly and said, "Change it, change it. From now on, you are called Little One, he is called Little Two, Little Three. Little Eight, and Little Eight is no good. Call him Little Nine." "Thank you, young clan leader, for bestowing names." Seeing that Yi Ching Han didn't get angry, they thought everything was fine and quickly smiled. "All right, I'll give you a mission now. Go and invite Miss Ching, Wu Ching-ching here. Then send an invitation to Feng Zilong, Sai Nan, Hua Zhilong, and Long Shui Lu. Invite them to a banquet tonight. After that, help me complete a secret mission. Go to the outskirts of Song City and run 500 laps around the city. No stopping. Of course, you must finish before dawn. If you can't finish, you'll have to double tomorrow. This is very important. If you miss a lap and ruin my plan, don't blame me for flipping out." Secret mission? Run 500 laps. The 8 huge men almost fell to the ground when they heard this. Their faces became even more bitter than cucumbers. Song City was so big. With their strength, Running dozens of laps wouldn't be a problem. But to run 500 laps, they had to finish before dawn. They reckoned that their legs would definitely break. What kind of bullshit Astra's team mission was this? He was obviously messing with them on purpose. Revenge. This was Yi Qinghan's undisguised revenge. At this moment, the 8 of them hated themselves incomparably. Why did they look down on Yi Qinghan in the past? Now, they were finally suffering the consequences of their actions. Why? Why are you still standing here? Are you waiting for me to treat you to a meal? Or are my words, as the young clan leader, useless? When Yi Qinghan saw the 8 of them acting like this, he was secretly delighted. However, his expression was even colder and angrier. Swish! When the 8 of them heard this, they quickly came to their senses and rushed outside. They were very clear that this was Yi Qinghan's punishment for the way they treated him in the past. And now, Yi Qinghan's status in the Yi family was like the sun in the sky. His words were much more effective than the words of the disciplinary court. Of course, they didn't dare to disobey. Otherwise, what awaited them would be the disciplinary court's tiger stool and chilly water. Chapter 287. Brother, it's not good to teach them a lesson like this, right? Isn't 500 laps too much? Yi Qingyu picked up the cup of tea on the table and looked at the backs of the 8 people who were running away in panic. She could not bear to say this. These 8 people have bad characters. Just punish them a little. Don't worry, they won't die of exhaustion. Yi Qinghan looked at Yi Qingyu's slightly furrowed eyebrows and her big eyes. He thought of the things that had happened over the years and sighed guiltily. Girl, I've made you suffer all these years. Not at all. As long as I can stay by your side, I'm not afraid of any hardships. Yi Qingyu put down the teacup and shook her head slightly. She blinked her big eyes at Yi Qinghan and said softly. Her tone was very calm, and her expression was very serene. Yi Qingyu's calm words made Yi Qinghan feel incomparably warm and touched. His eyes moved up and fell on the white hair on Yi Qingyu's head. His heart could not help but ache. He stood up and slowly walked in front of her. He stretched out his hands and gently wrapped them around her slender waist. He picked her up and then sat down. He picked up Yi Qingyu and sat her whole body on his lap. Don't worry, I will never leave you again. Never. Yi Qinghan's slender fingers gently slid across Yi Qingyu's long white hair. His heart was filled with infinite tenderness. This woman was willing to die for him. Her hair turned white for him. She was willing to risk her life to break into the god-slaying mountain for him. Brother, I want to be your bride. I want to marry you and bear your children. You promised me back then. Yi Qingyu's face became shy after being hugged by Yi Qinghan. Her snow-white face flushed red as she lowered her head and said in a low voice, To be able to marry a woman like Qingyu is the fortune that I have accumulated over 100 lifetimes. Little girl, don't you know how outstanding you are? You'll become a god in a few years. Brother, would I dare not marry you? Seeing Yi Qingyu reveal such a shy expression for the first time, Yi Qinghan chuckled and teased her. Yi Qingyu looked up and shook her head slightly. She opened her lips and said, It doesn't matter if I become a god or not. What matters is that I can be your wife. And, Qingyu, I want to tell you something. After a period of time, I'm preparing to marry you and Qingwu at the same time. Qingqing met Qingsheng at the Yu clan. She treats me very well, and I like her very much. As for Qingwu, I had carelessly ruined her body. Moreover, she was deeply devoted to me. So, tell me, isn't this brother a beast? Yi Qinghan was silent for a moment. He decided to make this clear to Yi Qingyu first. Although he knew that Yi Qingyu definitely wouldn't say much, this matter had to be made clear sooner or later. Today, he might as well grit his teeth and say it. Brother, there's no need to say anything. I don't mind. I know that you'll treat me well. This is enough. Yi Qinghan's words didn't cause Yi Qingyu's expression to change in the slightest. Instead, she stretched out her finger and placed it on Yi Qinghan's lips. Her expression was gentle. Once again feeling Yi Qingyu's unreserved affection, Yi Qinghan's eyes became misty. He didn't say anything and simply wrapped his arms around Qingyu's slender waist. He hugged her tightly, unwilling to let go. Little Han, little Han. Just as Yi Ching Han was enjoying the incomparably warm world of the two of them, the sound of hurried footsteps and Yi Ching Wu's angry shout came from outside the hall. Yi Ching Han hurriedly pushed Yi Ching Yu away, letting her stand up. He himself went outside to welcome them. Through the green door, Yi Ching Wu, wearing a sexy fiery red skin-tight leather skirt, appeared first. Then, Yu Ching Chung, dressed in a peach-red dress, came in with a smile. Little Han, the clan is too biased towards you. Your garden is many times better than mine. It's all made of green zen wood. It's too extravagant, too extravagant. Yi Ching Wu pouted and shook her cute little nose. She had a face full of complaints as she walked in. Yu Ching Chung didn't say anything. After a faint smile, she began to size up the furnishings inside. Sister Xiao Wu, isn't this your garden in the future? It won't be long before you and Sister Qing Chung get married together. What are you jealous of? Yi Ching Han felt awkward and didn't know what to say. On the contrary, Yi Ching Yu, who was beside him, spoke in a magnanimous manner. She even winked at Yi Ching Han very mischievously. Yes, that's right. What are you jealous of? You're both my women. Isn't what's mine yours? Yi Ching Han grinned. He came to his senses and started to make a fuss with Yi Ching Yu. Hey, who agreed to marry you? Shameless. After hearing what was said, Yi Ching Wu and Yu Ching Cheng's expressions became shy. Yi Ching Wu directly pulled Yu Ching Cheng's hand and glared at Yi Ching Han. She said angrily, Ching Chung, ignore this scoundrel. Let's go and take a look. After saying this, she pulled Yu Ching Chung and ran away like a wisp of smoke. Let's go, Ching Yu. Let's go and take a look at the rooftop. I'm going to set up a banquet there tonight to entertain Long Sainan, Feng Zi, and the others. Yi Ching Han laughed loudly and pulled Yi Ching Yu along as they walked. In the evening, Feng Zi and the others arrived at the invitation. They stayed in the Yi family castle because they wanted to build a good relationship with Yi Ching Han and rope an external help to confirm their status in the family. When they heard that Yi Ching Han had returned and even invited them to attend a banquet, they naturally arrived on time. Young Master Han, your garden makes people envious. Feng Zi shouted as soon as she entered the door. Her eyes glanced around randomly. Southern City stone, elegant lake-colored carp, purple camphor tree, fireworks, green zen wood. Incredible. Young Master Han, this garden of yours cost at least 100,000 crystal coins. Our Hua family only uses this green zen wood when we go into secluded cultivation. However, your entire loft is filled with it. Your Yi family is too extravagant. Hua Shu was obviously a knowledgeable person. She looked around and actually described everything in the garden in detail. Her face was filled with envy. The thing that the Yi family doesn't lack the most now is crystal coins. Young Master Han can casually take out a few treasures, and you can exchange them for 10 or even 100 cold heart pavilions. A trace of jealousy flashed in Long Shuelio's eyes. His gaze slid past Yu Ching Chung, Yi Ching Wu, who was standing beside Yi Ching Han. His heart was filled with envy, jealousy, and hatred. Long Sainan, who was dressed to the nines, looked heroic. She looked at Yi Ching Han, who was standing with a smile on her face, and a trace of complicated emotions flashed in her eyes. She praised, "This garden is very elegant and well decorated. I like it." He stopped joking around. Let's go to the rooftop. We'll drink to our heart's content tonight. You're not allowed to use battle chi to force us to drink. Yi Ching Han smiled and led the group to the rooftop. Come, let's have a toast to our reunion after 5 years. Let's drink to our friendship. For the heaven god tier. The stars twinkled in the sky, and the full moon hung high in the sky. A cool breeze carried the faint fragrance of zen and wine, enveloping the entire cold heart pavilion. On the rooftop, everyone drank to their heart's content. Even Yi Ching Yu, who had never drunk before, joined the group. Long Shuelu and Long Shuelu came here to establish a good relationship with Yi Ching Han. Of course, they kept drinking like water. Yu Ching Chung and Yi Ching Wu were in a good mood, so they unconsciously drank a lot of wine. Long Shuelu on the other hand, was in a complicated mood, but she drank the most. The maids kept serving jars of wine and plates of delicacies. For a moment, the atmosphere of the rooftop was strong, and the fragrance of wine permeated the air. After eating and drinking to their heart's content, it was already late at night. Everyone was slightly tipsy and started to leave. In the end, only Yi Qinghan and the three women were left on the rooftop. Sister Xiaowu, we were going back. Yu Qingcheng's face was flushed, and her peach-colored clothes made her look even more beautiful. She timidly looked at Yi Qinghan's drunken and confused eyes. He kept glancing at her, and Yi Qingwu like a wolf. She couldn't help but feel nervous. She quickly pulled Yi Qingwu's sleeve and said, "Eh." Yi Qingwu burped unladylike. She patted her plump chest, and the light in Yi Qinghan's eyes became even more intense. She also realized that the situation was not good. She quickly stood up slowly and pulled Yu Qingsheng to walk down the balcony. Chapter 288. Xiao. Yi Qinghan was obviously drunk as well. Seeing that the two of them were about to leave, he was a little anxious. He hadn't tasted a woman for several years. Today, with three such gorgeous beauties here, he wouldn't be a man if his heart wasn't like a monkey and galloping. However, he was obviously a little drunk as well. He wanted to switch positions to hug the two of them, but he dodged and directly crashed into the exit of the rooftop. Punk! This crash wasn't very painful, but it made Yi Qinghan stagger. Finally, he took a few steps back, swayed, and directly fell on his back. The back of his head heavily crashed into the rooftop's floor. This time it was very heavy, and he hurriedly covered the back of his head in pain. His body curled up, and he cried out softly, "Lil Han, are you okay?" Yi Qingwu was a little flustered. She hurriedly swayed and squatted down, wanting to see if Yi Qinghan was okay. Unexpectedly, she was hugged by Yi Qinghan. The two of them rolled on the ground and struggled a few times. Finally, they were firmly pressed under Yi Qinghan's body. He opened his mouth and directly covered her tender red lips. I can't watch anymore." Yu Qingcheng blushed a little as she watched this erotic scene. After a moment, she cried out in alarm. She lifted her skirt and ran towards the exit in a panic. She didn't want to do anything preposterous and shameful before she married Yi Qinghan. Hence, she took the opportunity to slip away as fast as she could. "Brother, you're acting like a hooligan." Yi Qingyu hurriedly cupped her burning hot face and followed Yu Qingcheng down without even turning her head back. In her pure heart, if one were to do such a shameful act before getting married, it would definitely be akin to acting like a hooligan. "Little rascal, let go of me. It's so embarrassing. I'm going to scream if you continue like this." Yi Qingwu struggled to break free from Yi Qinghan's rough kiss. She waved her two pink fists and continuously pounded on Yi Qinghan's back, roaring shyly. "Hee, it's not like I haven't done it before. What are you embarrassed about? Xiao Wujie, just follow this old monk." "Huh?" Yi Qinghan was now tipsy. He rolled around with Yi Qingwu, their bodies rubbing against each other. There was a raging fire in his heart. How could he stop? Oh, that won't do. If word of this gets out, how am I going to face others? "Little Han, just let me go, I beg you." As Yi Qinghan's hands moved all over Yi Qingwu's body, a strange feeling mixed with drunkenness welled up in her heart. Her whole body became limp and soft, and her two fists that were waving about also became powerless, begging in a low voice. "What are you afraid of? In the Yi family, who dared to speak carelessly, I'll chop off his legs. Come on, baby, I'll be very gentle. Tonight, I'll make you the happiest woman in the world." Yi Qinghan didn't stop groping. Yi Qingwu's smooth skin made his eyes turn red. That night, for a few hours, the entire Cold Heart Pavilion was filled with strange and special sounds. The 12 maids in the pavilion were so scared that they couldn't sleep for the whole night. Such loud sounds, such powerful screams. How could a group of young girls who yearned for love endure it? How could they fall asleep? When the sky was about to brighten, the 8-door gods dragged their bodies back to the Cold Heart Pavilion. When they were about to wait for Yi Qinghan to wake up and report to him, they discovered a very strange scene. The four maids on night duty had bright red faces. Their eyes were like silk, and they were hurriedly tidying up their clothes. There were a few fruits on the table that were in the shape of strips, but they were glowing and emitting a special aura. It's over, little scoundrel. I'll spend a night here. Tomorrow, this news will definitely spread throughout the entire Yi family castle. I won't have the face to see anyone. You only know how to bully me. Yi Qingwu's face was turned to the side. Her upper body was naked, and she was nestling against Yi Qinghan's chest. Her hand was pinching his chest. Isn't it simple? The sky is still dark, isn't it? You can just sneak back. Baby, do you like it when I bully you? Yi Qinghan said with a naughty smile. Damn, I don't have any strength left in my body. How can I walk back? No, you have to send me back. Otherwise, if my grandfather finds out, won't he skin you alive? Yi Qingwu pinched Yi Qinghan's arm and said with a sweet smile, All right, no one will discover my shadow step. I'll send you back secretly later. Yi Qinghan laughed mischievously. Why do we have to wait? Yi Qingwu raised her head and looked at Yi Qinghan in confusion. She saw the passion in her man's eyes and understood everything. She couldn't help but blush. Chapter 289. At daybreak, Yi Qinghan reluctantly sent Yi Qingwu back to the Manhwa Garden. Then, he searched Yi Qingwu's room for a while more before he returned to the Chilling Heart Garden under Yi Qingwu's urging. He teleported to the corridor on the second floor and straightened his clothes before slowly walking down the first floor. It was as if he had just woken up. Greetings, young clan leader. The 8 door gods were sitting on the chairs in the main hall, looking at the staircase. The 4 maidservants on standby were throwing flirtatious glances at them. When they saw Yi Qinghan coming down, they hurriedly struggled to stand up and salute him. Are you done? Yi Qinghan yawned and chuckled. Yes, young clan leader, we are done. We did not miss a single lap. We are here to report to you. The eldest of the 8 door gods, Little One, nodded and bowed. All right, you may leave. There is a room at the back of the garden for you to stay in. Your task is to guard the main gate of the Chilling Heart Garden. In the future, you are not allowed to enter the main hall or the attic without my permission. If you have any problems, report them to the maidservants. Also, don't seduce my maidservants. Otherwise, I will cut off your middle leg. Yi Qinghan was in a good mood, so he didn't bicker with them and asked them to leave. Thank you, young clan leader. The 8 door gods hurriedly expressed their gratitude. They were naturally very happy that Yi Qinghan had let them off so easily. They had thought that the clan leader had bestowed them to Yi Qinghan so that Yi Qinghan could torture them when he had nothing better to do. However, Yi Qinghan had let them off so easily after they had run 500 laps. Moreover, he had bestowed upon them the position of guarding the Chilling Heart Pavilion's door. Although they were supposed to be guarding the door, who were they supposed to guard the door with? They felt extremely honored to be guarding the door of the Yi family's future clan leader. There were so many servants in the Yi family. Who had such an honor? Hence, although they gritted their teeth, they struggled to straighten their bodies and walk out with their heads held high. Did you hear anything last night? Yi Qinghan scratched his head and tilted his head to look at the 4 maids standing next to him. He grinned. Young master, we didn't hear anything. Under Yi Qinghan's fiery gaze, the 4 maids panicked and bowed in a low voice. Then, one of the more daring maids mustered her courage and said, And not bad. What is your name? From now on, you will be the general manager of the Chilling Heart Pavilion. Yi Qinghan smiled faintly. He was very satisfied with this maid's obedient and sensible behavior. Thank you, young master. This servant's name is Cui Hua. The maid immediately became happy. She once again bowed and gave her thanks. Jade Flower? Not a bad name. Your mission from now on is to serve Miss Qingyu well. Yi Qinghan turned around and walked up the pavilion. However, he left behind another sentence that made the maids blush in shame. They wished they could find a hole to hide in. Cui Hua, don't touch my fruits in the future. Wash those that have been touched and eat them. If there is a next time, I will punish you severely. Young master, please enter the carefree pavilion for a chat. After returning to his room, Yi Qinghan lay on the bed and was reminiscing about the wonderful feeling he had when he received a voice transmission from Elder Lu in the Carefree Ring. Yi Qinghan quickly woke up. After obtaining the Carefree Ring, he hadn't had the time to talk to Elder Lu. There were still many questions that he hadn't answered. He stood up and activated the Carefree Ring. The Carefree Ring emitted a golden radiance. Suddenly, a golden door appeared in the room. Yi Qinghan stepped through the door and disappeared. The door slowly dissipated after Yi Qinghan disappeared. Greetings, Elder Lu. In the blink of an eye, Yi Qinghan found himself back in the main hall of the Carefree Pavilion. Elder Lu was standing in the main hall with a sneaky smile on his goat-like face. Little Han, if you want to do that in the future, I advise you to come to the Carefree Pavilion. You activated the restriction in the Carefree Pavilion, so even I couldn't investigate you. You should know that in the Flame Dragon Continent, the immortal level masters can detect your every move at any time. Don't stare at me. When you were doing that, I didn't check behind you. Hee, I was doing it to protect you, Elder Lu said with a mischievous smile. F***CK. Hearing this, Yi Qinghan was speechless. This old thing had been spying on him. Fortunately, he didn't check behind him. Otherwise, he would have suffered a great loss. Then he seemed to remember something and said in surprise, "Why would I enter the Carefree Pavilion? I can bring people into the Carefree Pavilion?" This Carefree Pavilion used to be one of the temporary residences of the Soul Emperor. The Soul Emperor specially set up a restriction. As long as a woman has his aura, she can enter. In other words, women who have intercourse with him can enter the Carefree Pavilion. Now that the Carefree Pavilion has been refined by you, you also have the right to bring your women in. Of course, there are outsiders who don't have your aura. No one below the God Emperor level can enter the Carefree Pavilion, and no one can break into it. Of course, I'm an exception, Elder Lu explained. I'm weak. So awesome? This thing is so fierce. Won't I be the one being hunted down in the future? I can bring my women in to hide? Why didn't you say so earlier? Yi Qinghan was overjoyed. This was an unexpected gain. The heaven and earth essence energy in the Carefree Pavilion was so rich that it was comparable to when he entered a state of spiritual stillness. If he brought you Qingsheng, Yi Qingwu, and Yi Qingyu to cultivate in the Carefree Pavilion, not only would their safety be guaranteed, but their cultivation speed would also increase greatly. Of course, this thing is good. It's a spatial divine item that Master personally refined. In the realm of the gods, it is considered a treasure. Countless god generals and god kings in the realm of the gods covet it, not to mention heavenly gods and mortals. Of course, don't be too complacent. You might only be able to use this ring for 50 years. Lu Shi's eyes narrowed as he reached out to stroke the sparse beard on his chin. Why? Yi Qinghan was shocked. He was extremely puzzled. Didn't Elder Lu say that this was the reward for clearing the God-slaying mountain? Why did it change now? You also know that the God-slaying mountain is a test set by Master. Since you cleared the God-slaying mountain and obtained the divine sword, you have become one of Master's candidates. In the future, you will have the opportunity to obtain the Real treasure left behind by the Soul Emperor. Lu Shi's expression tightened as he began to talk about business. All along, Yi Qinghan was not very busy. It was only because there were God realm experts by his side that he had the time to tell him today. Back then, Master was the #1 God Emperor. He had countless treasures that everyone in the realm of the gods wanted. Of course, Master would not easily hand over such precious treasures to a wastrel. Therefore, Master set up 5 tests. Only those who pass these 5 tests can obtain the treasures. The God-slaying mountain is the first test. The second test is, if you cannot ascend to the realm of the gods within 50 years, I will take back this ring and the divine sword. I will also leave the Fire Dragon continent to find the next lucky person. Of course, within these 50 years, I will do my best to protect your safety. I will also help you 3 times. You have already used up 1 chance. As for the next 3 tests, you must ascend to the realm of the gods to obtain them. Therefore, if you want to obtain the real treasure left behind by the Soul Emperor and become a peak expert in the realm of the gods, look down on all heroes, and dominate a region, you must break through to the god realm within 50 years. 50 years, another 50 years. After listening to this, Yi Qinghan let out a deep sigh. He realized that his fate was being controlled by an invisible giant hand. He could only move forward in this direction without stopping. Otherwise, not only would he lose many things, he might even lose his life. Chapter 290. God Realm. Another God Realm. Yi Qinghan was a little puzzled. The legendary God Realm was a realm that millions of warriors in the Flame Dragon continent yearned for. However, Lord Devourer and the Soul Emperor made it seem like a trivial matter. Hence, he asked Lu Shi helplessly, "Elder Lu, do you think I can break through to the God Realm? Can I break through to the God Realm within 50 years? From what you say, breaking through to the God Realm is easy, but I feel that the God Realm is like the mountain in the Divine City, which I can only look up to. It feels very far away." Young master, although I can't say for sure that you can break through to the God Realm within 50 years, I think that you can break through to the God Realm within 100 years. Elder Lu looked at Yi Qinghan, his slender eyes flashing with a trace of admiration and envy. He continued, "You broke through the God-slaying mountain, which means that your aptitude, wisdom, and perception are all top-notch. Moreover, you have a good state of enlightenment, which is called soul tranquility. Most importantly, you have the carefree pavilion. If you still can't break through to the God Realm with such resources and opportunities, then you're just a piece of trash that can't be helped up." "Oh, what do you mean?" When Yi Qinghan heard this, he was startled and immediately asked in astonishment. The heaven and earth essence energy in the carefree pavilion is the God Realm's spiritual energy. Cultivating here is 10 times faster than cultivating in the Flame Dragon continent. Most importantly, the Carefree Pavilion's practice room has an enlightenment diagram that Master left behind when he was cultivating. As long as you can understand a little bit of it, becoming a god will be a piece of cake. When Lu Shi talked about the enlightenment diagram in the practice room, his face was full of admiration and worship. It turned out that he had benefited a lot from it. The Soul Emperor's enlightenment diagram? There's such a thing? Elder Lu, take me to see it. Yi Qinghan's heart trembled. The God Emperor actually left a practice diagram behind. This thing was more important than any treasure. He was so excited that he hurriedly shouted, Let's go. I'll open your eyes." Elder Lu chuckled and led Yi Qinghan out of the main hall. They passed by a side hall, turned a long corridor, and finally arrived in front of a stone door. "Young master, if you want to go in, you only need to release your primordial chi, battle chi at the entrance." Elder Lu stretched out his hand and pressed a groove on the side of the stone door. The stone door shook slightly and closed. This training room is so big. As soon as Yi Qinghan stepped in, he felt like he had come to a football field. The training room was empty, and it felt very spacious. Lu Shi shook his head and said, This is considered big? In fact, this is not even a training room. At most, it is a quiet room. Think about it. Master's divine power is so great that he can probably flatten the god-slaying mountain with a casual move. In such a small place, Master only practices with his bare hands and does not dare to use his divine power. Otherwise, this training room will be annihilated. So fierce? Yi Qinghan shook his shoulders and was secretly shocked. However, the celestial realm was already so powerful, and the God Emperor, which was several levels higher than the celestial realm, was definitely an existence that could not be looked up to. Where is the enlightenment diagram? Yi Qinghan looked around and found that other than the spacious jade ground, there was only the smooth walls. There was nothing else. He could not help but ask curiously. There are a total of 5 diagrams here. You are very lucky. The Soul Emperor had a very high understanding of the law of space, so he left behind an enlightenment diagram of the law of space. This diagram is on this wall. As long as you can understand 10% of the concept in it, you will definitely have no problem becoming a god. She pointed to the smooth wall on the left, clearly telling him that the enlightenment diagram of the law of space was there. There is nothing here? Yi Qinghan opened his eyes wide and tried to look at the wall, but found nothing. He could not help but feel even more puzzled. Could there be a mechanism? Look at it with your heart. Focus and calm down. Get rid of all distracting thoughts and circulate your battle chi to your eyes. Look carefully. Shi smiled and explained mysteriously. Yi Qinghan hurriedly calmed his heart and circulated his battle chi. His eyes immediately emitted a bright light as he looked at the wall on the left. Nothing? After looking for a few minutes, Yi Qinghan still did not find anything. However, since Shi said so, there must be something on the wall. Thus, Yi Qinghan completely immersed himself again. At the same time, he began to imagine the trace of the law of space that he had comprehended when he broke through to the Emperor realm on the Luotian mountain. Slowly, Yi Qinghan found that the wall gradually began to glow, and his vision began to blur. A fuzzy image began to appear in his mind. The image was very large. It was a beach, and in front of the beach was a boundless sea. Countless raindrops were falling from the sky and hitting the beach, forming countless sand pits on the beach. Although Yi Qinghan could feel the beach, the sea, and the falling rain, his vision was blurred. He could only vaguely feel it, but he could not see it clearly. When he wanted to take a closer look, his vision suddenly became blurred again. Finally, the image completely disappeared. He saw the smooth wall of the training room again. Then he suddenly felt a rush of dizziness. His body swayed, and he almost fell. He staggered back a few steps before he could stand firm. "Old Lu, what's wrong? Why do I feel so dizzy? And there's a piercing pain." After a while, Yi Qinghan finally calmed down. He gently hit the back of his head and asked in surprise, "You have just entered the path of understanding the laws. Looking at this rain pattern beach comprehension painting will definitely consume too much of your soul. I thought that you would faint after looking at it for a second. I didn't expect your soul to be so strong. You actually looked at it for 2 seconds and didn't faint." Old Lu did not come over to support Yi Qinghan. Instead, he smiled at him and teased him. "Rain pattern beach comprehension painting. This painting is so strange. I can't even see it clearly. How can I understand the concept within it?" Yi Qinghan rubbed his temples. He did not want to think about the scene he had just seen. "You still want to see it clearly? I have some understanding of the laws of space, but I will still feel dizzy after looking at this painting for more than half an hour. Don't be anxious. Take it slow. You still have 50 years. You can look at it slowly. As your strength and understanding of the laws increases, you will see it more clearly." The corners of old Lu's mouth curled up, revealing a slight smile of mockery. Yi Qinghan really did not know the immensity of heaven and earth. He wanted to reach the heavens in a single step with his meager strength. Where are the other 4 paintings? What laws are they related to? Yi Qinghan nodded. He felt that he was too impatient. The laws of heaven and earth were so profound that he could only slowly understand them. There is one painting on each of the other 3 walls. They are the earth, darkness, and fire elements. And the painting above your head is the most terrifying. I advise you, don't even think about looking at it. Otherwise, you'll just be asking for trouble. Shi pointed at the other 3 walls and introduced them to Yi Qinghan. Finally, he pointed at the top of his head, but he didn't dare to look at it. His face revealed an expression of lingering fear. "The painting above my head is very powerful?" Yi Qinghan looked up at old Lu's expression in astonishment. He was only looking at it normally. He did not circulate his battle chi like before. Hence, he thought that it was fine. However, on the top of his head, there were strange silver patterns that could be seen with the naked eye. These patterns formed a very strange picture. However, before Yi Qinghan could clearly see the picture above, the picture suddenly changed and moved strangely. Immediately after, his soul suddenly trembled, and his eyes turned white. Finally, he suddenly fainted. Shi waved his hand helplessly and looked at Yi Qinghan, who was lying on the ground, and sighed helplessly. "If you don't listen to your elders, you will suffer." Just looking at this painting makes me faint. Aren't you looking for trouble? Chapter 291. Yi Qinghan slept for half a day in the carefree pavilion and finally woke up after being shaken by Lu Shi. Someone is coming to your room. Get out. Lu Shi's divine sense had been paying attention to the movements outside. Once someone came in or the divine sense of a god-level expert swept over, he would discover it immediately and ask Yi Qinghan to go out. Otherwise, if people knew that Yi Qinghan had disappeared inexplicably, they would definitely be suspicious. I feel dizzy. What the hell is this picture? Someone's here? I'll go out first. I'll come in and meditate when I have time. Yi Qinghan shook his head violently to wake himself up. He had just returned and would definitely have a lot of things to do, so he had no time to cultivate. After a period of time, when everything was completely quiet, he could cultivate in the carefree pavilion with peace of mind. I'll go out first. Elder, what about you? Do you want to go out and play for a while? You can also relax. Yi Qinghan was completely awake. He thought that Lu Shi was too bored staying in the carefree pavilion, so he asked for his opinion. I want to travel, but I can't show up during this period because the matter with the divine sword has not subsided. If I go out, it will arouse suspicion. I'd better stay in the carefree pavilion for a while. Elder Lu's eyes lit up when he heard that he wanted to go out and play. He had stayed in the god-slaying mountain for thousands of years and had long been bored. He thought for a moment and shook his head helplessly. Well, I'll come in and talk to you when I have time. Yi Qinghan secretly decided that he would cultivate in the carefree pavilion when things had completely calmed down. After all, this was a matter of life and death. He secretly controlled the carefree ring, left the carefree pavilion in a flash, and appeared in his bedroom. Sure enough, as soon as he came out, he heard a hurried knock on the door. Brother, wake up. Someone is visiting you downstairs. It was Yi Qingyu's voice outside the door. Who is it? Yi Qinghan tidied up his clothes and opened the door. He looked at Yi Qingyu and chuckled. He reached out to hold her hand and asked with concern, Qingyu, you're up so early? You don't look well. Did you not rest well last night? People will laugh at you for sleeping so late at night. A blush flashed across Yi Qingyu's face. She lowered her head and shyly thought to herself, you guys made such a big commotion last night. It would be strange if other people could sleep well. Then, she thought of something and quickly said, Brother, why aren't you going down yet? There are a few city lords waiting for you down there. They have been waiting for you for a long time. I'm going back to my room. Who cares? Let them wait. You eat something before you sleep. I'll get someone to send you something to eat. Yi Qinghan didn't bother to pay attention to him, since he wasn't an elder of the clan. He knew that his status was different now. As the young master of the Yi family, there would definitely be people who would come to him to curry favor with him. He didn't rush down. Instead, he transmitted his voice to Cui Hua, who was standing at the bottom of the stairs. He ordered her to bring some pastries up. Then he slowly walked down. Greetings, young master. When he walked into the hall, there were 5 or 6 people sitting inside. When these people saw Yi Qinghan enter, they immediately stood up and cupped their hands in greeting enthusiastically. Sit down, sit down. Don't be so formal. Yi Qinghan chuckled and directly walked to the main seat. He sat down and looked at them. Among these people, there was only one that he had a slight impression of. It was the big fatty Yi Ji from Man City. He didn't know any of the others. Yi Ji, I haven't seen you for a few years. You're getting more and more lucky. Who are these people? Yi Qinghan picked up his tea and took a sip. He looked at Yi Ji. This big fatty was getting fatter and fatter. He had probably harvested quite a lot after staying in Man City for so many years. He had a good impression of Yi Ji. After all, if Yi Ji hadn't sent a super fast carriage to send him back to Tsang City, he probably wouldn't have been able to make it back in time. Yi Qingyu would have most likely died as well. Young master, you flatter me. It's all thanks to your good fortune. 6 years have passed since we parted ways in Man City. I didn't expect young master to still remember Yi Ji. You don't know this, but I heard that you fell into the god-slaying mountain. I was so worried that I couldn't sleep for several days and nights. Now that you've finally returned safely, the heavens have eyes. As a matter of fact, I and the other city lords immediately brought some local specialties to visit you. Back then, they had only met briefly in Man City. Yi didn't expect Yi Qinghan to still remember him. Furthermore, he was very polite to him. Yi was so excited that all the fat on his body was jiggling. His expression also became incomparably proud, as if he was showing off to the other city lords. After a round of flattery, he smiled and introduced the people beside him. Young master, this is the city lord of Spring City, Yi Chunchun. This is the city lord of Yang City, Yi Yangyang. This is the city lord of Star City, Yi Xingxing. Young master's safe return is the great fortune of the Yi family, the great fortune of Tsang City, and the great fortune of the House of Aries. For young master to have such a realm at such a young age, you can be said to be the #1 peerless genius in the history of the Fire Dragon continent. Because of young master, the Yi family, young master, you're the star in the sky. You'll definitely illuminate the world. You're the brightest pearl in the Fire Dragon continent. After Yi introduced them, the few of them hurriedly smiled and flattered him. For a moment, the flattery was endless. Finally, like Yi, each of them presented a jade box. This is a local speciality of this small city. Of course, it won't enter young master's eyes. It's just a little something from us. If young master has the time to go to the small city. At first, Yi Qinghan enjoyed the flattery and flattery. But the more he listened, the more boring it became. I haven't died yet, but I've already become a star. This flattery, isn't it too exaggerated? Looking at the few of them who were salivating, their expressions became more and more excited as they spoke. He finally lost his patience. With a light cough, he directly interrupted the few of them from continuing their speech. All right, leave the things behind. I understand your intentions. Go back and work well, but don't go overboard. You know, Yi stay. The rest of you can leave. And all right, young master, you're very busy every day. Of course, we wouldn't dare to waste your precious time. If young master has the time to go to the small city to play, we'll definitely treat you well. Our young lady is proficient in all kinds of music. When the few of them heard that Yi Qinghan had actually accepted the gifts, and that his tone was not bad, they hurriedly expressed their gratitude, exchanged pleasantries, and flattered him. But in the end, when they saw Yi Qinghan's expression slightly darken, they hurriedly bowed and left. Young master, don't listen to their nonsense. It's not that I'm talking nonsense, but their young lady is nothing. The young lady of the barbarian city, that's called open-minded. 18 kinds of martial arts, 108 techniques, they're proficient in all of them. Last time, you said that you must go and play when you have the time. Why don't we arrange a time so that I can prepare? Seeing that Yi Qinghan wanted him to stay behind, Yi Qinghan's expression became even more excited, and he hurriedly promoted the barbarian city's beauties. Originally, they were the people of the Night Spear. However, ever since Yi Qinghan caused a ruckus in the Enchanted Garden, the Night Spear had shown that they were wholeheartedly focused on martial arts. They no longer coveted the throne of the clan leader and no longer formed a clique for personal gain. Thus, Yi and the others were left out in the cold. Yi's strength was not high, and he had been busy enjoying himself all these years, so his cultivation did not increase. So these few years, he was constantly worried that his position would suddenly be replaced by someone else. As for Yi Qinghan, a few days ago at the Pavilion of Glory, he was directly appointed as the young master, and it was the kind that would never change. At that time, Yi Qinghan began to ponder. He wanted to use the little relationship he had with Yi Qinghan in the past to see if he could get close to Yi Qinghan, hug his thigh, and continue to stabilize his position. Enough, stop with these empty words. I don't like it. If you continue with this, I'm going to ask you to leave. Hearing this, Yi Qinghan sighed helplessly. His expression turned cold, and he immediately waved his hand, sealing Yi's mouth. Yi Qinghan's cold expression startled Yi, and he thought that he had said something wrong. He hurriedly stood up, looking very flustered and wronged. He wanted to say something, but he did not know what to say. He could only awkwardly rub his hands and look at Yi Qinghan. Yi back then, I owed you a favor, so you don't have to be like this. As long as I, Yi Ching Han, am not dead, I will guarantee you a lifetime of glory. Of course. Again, don't go overboard. If something big happens, I won't let you off. Yi Ching Han waved his hand, gesturing for him to sit down and not be too nervous. Plop! Unexpectedly, Yi Ching Han's words moved Yi Ji to tears. He himself did not know why Yi Ching Han owed him a favor, and he suddenly made such a powerful promise. He hurriedly knelt on the ground and cupped his hands towards Yi Ching Han. With an emotional expression, he said, "Young master, why you treat me so well? You are like a second parent to me. I don't know what to say. I will kowtow to you, and when I get back, I will arrange for you to live forever." Chapter 292. F***CK off. I'm not dead yet. I already said I don't like this kind of thing. If you continue like this, I'll take back my words. Yi Ching Han scolded angrily. Then he suddenly thought of something and his face tensed up. He asked solemnly, "Nightwing, let me ask you something. It's a serious matter." Serious matter? Nightwing saw that Yi Ching Han's temper was fluctuating between cold and warm, so he didn't dare to talk nonsense. He quickly put on a solemn expression and replied, "Do you know that there's a Dark Moon Hotel in your barbarian city? Their lady boss is called in you. She is very charming and enchanting." Yi Ching Han chuckled as he leaned over and whispered, "Dark Moon?" Nightwing thought that Yi Ching Han was talking about a serious matter, but when he saw Yi Ching Han asking about a woman, he thought that his chance had come. He quickly became happy. So, Yi Ching Han liked this kind of woman? But after thinking about it, he felt a little awkward. He scratched his head and said hesitantly, "Young master, this Dark Moon is indeed a flirtatious and peerless beauty. She's the flower of the barbarian city. But if young master wants to play with her, I'm afraid it'll be a little difficult. She has a powerful backer behind her. Countless people in the barbarian city want to sleep with her, but none have succeeded. Of course, if young master has this intention, I'll definitely find a way to make it happen." "Urge your grandpa." Yi Ching Han laughed and scolded. When he was still the seventh son of the Yi family, he had already slept with her. Why did he still need to use Nightwing to urge her? At the same time, when he heard this, he was secretly proud. He didn't expect that he still had some ability. He actually slept with the flower of the barbarian city. Then he asked with great interest, "She has a backer behind her? Have you investigated anything in the barbarian city for so many years?" Although this subordinate is useless, I know everything about Man's City." Nightstick saw that Yi Ching Han seemed to be in a good mood, so he quickly said, "According to my estimation, Dark Moon is from Dragon City. Dragon City has set up secret agents in the House of Ares, and the secret agent in Barbarian City should be Dark Moon." So you're from Dragon City. I thought it was some underground force of the Flame Dragon Continent or the continent's top assassin organization or something. People from Dragon City. Well, that's easy. Yi Ching Han was a little surprised when he heard this. He already knew that there was someone behind Dark Moon. Otherwise, how could a woman like her live so well in a place like the Barbarian City where all sorts of people were mixed up? However, he didn't expect her to be from Dragon City. He had been fantasizing that the force behind her was some kind of underground organization or hall of assassins or something. If he came into contact with Dark Moon, he would be in trouble. Now that he was from Dragon City, it was simple. He could directly ask Long Shuailu and Long Sinan for him. Underground forces? Assassin organization? Young patriarch, you must be joking. In the south of the House of Ares, our Yi family is the biggest underground force. How could we allow other forces to exist? Easy? Young patriarch, don't force this matter. If you offend Dragon City, it will be hard to explain to the patriarch. Nightstick thought that Yi Ching Han had taken a fancy to that flirtatious lady boss and wanted to force himself on her, so he hurriedly tried to persuade him. Although Yi Ching Han's status was very high and his strength was very strong, if he forced himself on the secret agent of Dragon City, it would be hard for Dragon City to explain. Force your sister. I'm just picking up a girl. Do I need to force myself on her? You're looking down on me too much." Yi Qinghan laughed and scolded him. After pondering for a moment, he asked, "How is she doing recently? Look at my smelly mouth." Young patriarch picking up girls is naturally easy. He wasn't going to force himself on her. But to pick her up, Nightstick came to his senses and slapped his fat face heavily. He smiled apologetically and said, "I heard that Dark Moon is still the same as before. She's still having a good time with the group of warriors in the bar. She seduces them all day long, but she doesn't let them take advantage of her at all." "Oh, that's right. I remember. On the way to Song City, I heard that she seemed to be sick. How many days has it been since she last came out to meet people? I'm not too sure about the specifics." You know that I usually don't care about girls that I can't touch." "Sick? When you go back to Barbarian City, send me some tonics, and then send a letter to her." When Yi Qinghan heard this, he frowned slightly. Dark Moon was his first woman. As a man, he always had an inseparable feeling towards his first woman. However, he didn't have the time to go to Barbarian City at the moment. He could only let Nightstick visit her and pass a message to her. Pass a message? Young patriarch, you know her?" Nightstick was a little surprised. He saw Yi Qinghan nod his head. He couldn't help but look at Yi Qinghan with admiration and worship. From what he knew, Yi Qinghan had only gone to Barbarian City once. When he first went, he was just an elite trash, right? At that time, actually hooked up with the flower of Barbarian City that everyone wanted. This young patriarch wasn't just any ordinary kind of ferocious. In the next few days, Yi Qinghan was very busy. He constantly met with the members of the Yi family who wanted to suck up to him. He also continuously received greeting gifts and local specialties from the various families that were vassals to the Yi family. He received a few baskets of all kinds of treasures and crystal coins. Towards the end, he couldn't even be bothered to meet people and just accepted all the gifts. He always thought that it would be a waste if he didn't sleep with the women outside. Even if he slept with them, it would be a waste. It would be a waste if he didn't accept other people's money. It was just that he calculated the local specialties that he had received so far were enough to build a Chilling Heart Pavilion. It was worth more than 100,000 crystal coins. Of course, Dark Moon wasn't sick. 6 years had passed, and she had been very diligent in her cultivation. She had cultivated from the 3rd level of the general realm to the peak of the martial realm. With such strength, it was naturally impossible for her to be sick. At this moment, she was lying lazily on the pink bed in the backyard of the hotel. Her upper body was covered by a bedsheet, revealing a section of her snow-white thighs. 6 years had passed, but time didn't leave too many traces on her. Instead, she had become even more alluring. She was like a ripe peach that naturally and inadvertently emitted her intoxicating fragrance. She didn't expose her thighs. At this moment, her charming red phoenix eyes were wide open as she gazed at the distant mountains outside the window. She seemed to be thinking about something, but her delicate eyebrows were slightly furrowed. A few days ago, Nightstick had returned to Man City. He had brought her a few baskets of tonics and a letter with crooked handwriting. The contents of the letter were very simple. There were only 2 words, "Wait for me," but these 2 words made her body, which had been sick for a few days, even more sick. Over the past 6 years, she had never forgotten that intoxicating night. She had never forgotten that evil yet domineering little man. She had never forgotten that although he looked weak, his incomparably strong body rolled endlessly on top of her. She had never forgotten his gentle yet rough kisses, his fierce yet intoxicating conquest. "Although I really want to have a second time with you, you are now my woman. I believe that this opportunity will come sooner or later. So, I feel that for now, I should first settle my matters before settling yours. Even though it is very irresponsible to say this. You are doing well because of the power behind you, right? But you must remember, no matter when, the only power you can rely on is actually your man. I forgot to tell you in the bet last night, actually, even if you used all your strength, I could still defeat you. Remember, my name is Yi Qinghan. I am your man." Her ears were still replaying the domineering and arrogant declaration of this little man 6 years ago. She unconsciously began to smile. Her smile was very charming and intoxicating. But after a moment, she seemed to have thought of something, and her smile gradually froze. Her brows furrowed even more. She lifted the blanket, revealing a translucent undergarment that revealed her perfect figure. She felt around on the bed for a while. Finally, she raised her left hand and placed it in front of her eyes. In her hand, there were two slightly wrinkled pieces of white paper. They were two letters. Wait for me. At all costs, get close to Yi Ching Han and gain his trust. Wait for orders. One letter came from Song City. The handwriting was very sloppy and rough. The other letter came from the power behind her. More than 10 days ago, she had secretly received a mission. She sat up in disappointment. Her slender fingers gently slid over the two sloppy handwriting on Yi Qinghan's handwriting. She began to tremble slightly. Unknowingly, a stream of tears flowed down from the corner of her eyes. The two big, sloppy handwriting became even uglier. In the end, she forcefully tore the two letters into pieces. She waved them above her head and hugged her snow-white thighs. She curled up on the bed and began to cry. The white paper turned into a sky full of white snow and fell on her pink bed. It was especially dazzling. At this moment, the Dark Moon Hotel was still very lively. Countless martial artists in the bar kept looking at the backyard. However, they did not know that there was a silent rain in the backyard. Chapter 293. Recently, the mainland had been very lively. Hundreds of dazzling lights had flown out from the god-slaying mountain, alarming the people of the mainland and all the forces of the mainland. Immediately, all the forces sent out a large number of warriors, and countless adventurers of the mainland also swarmed out to search for the scattered divine swords. However, the speed of the divine swords was too fast and random. When they landed on the ground, they directly sank into the ground and covered all the divine lights. Therefore, the speed of the search became extremely slow and difficult. Although the search was very difficult, during this period of time, there were constantly divine swords appearing. This also led to assassinations, robberies, and hiding everywhere on the mainland. The underground sewers of every city and the stench of corpses in the wilderness also became stronger. Half a month ago, the divine city had sent out a divine oracle, which had caused the chaos to become even crazier. The divine city was the strongest force on the mainland. It was very powerful both in the open and in the dark, so it had obtained many divine swords during this period of time. However, the divine master's expression became even worse. In the end, he issued an oracle. Anyone who offered a divine sword would receive a huge reward from the divine city and be given the identity of the divine city's emissary. If the divine sword was real, the person would receive the position of the divine city's fifth guard. The divine master would personally accept him as a disciple, and the divine city would do its best to nurture him until he broke through to the god level. He would also be given a large number of treasures and martial arts techniques. The oracle was posted in every city on the mainland, causing a sensation on the entire mainland. The divine city had always been known as the Holy Land among the warriors of the mainland, and the divine master was their god. Now that their god had personally issued an oracle and given such shocking conditions, how could they not be shocked? Many warriors also found out for the first time that there were real and fake divine swords. However, they did not know which one was real and how many there were. They also knew that there was a god level above the saint level. Now, the divine master actually said that as long as they offered a real divine sword, he would do his best to nurture them until they broke through to the god level. The moment the oracle was issued, the mainland was no less than a super earthquake. The warriors of the mainland became even more active. Apart from the 3 danger zones, the other dangerous places, deep mountains, and isolated islands were filled with warriors who came to search for treasures. Everywhere, the competition became more and more intense. Many warriors from small clans even left their clans and stole the divine swords that their clans had obtained, heading straight for the divine city. Unexpectedly, they were constantly intercepted and killed on the way. For a time, blood rained down on the continent, and it was incomparably chaotic. In the back mountain of the Yi family, Yi Ruohai was holding a divine sword and carefully examining it. Beside him, Yi Tianlong and Yi Qingyo were respectfully standing to the side. What do you think, ancestor? Are the 5 divine swords real? Yi Tianlong saw that Yi Ruoshui had finished looking at the 5 divine swords and hurriedly asked, "It's all fake." Yi Ruoshui tossed the divine sword onto the table beside her and said after thinking for a while, all fake? There are too many divine swords. Everyone on the continent is fighting for them, but they don't even know which one is the real one. This is a bit difficult." Yi Tianlong frowned slightly. The Yi family had spent countless manpower and resources to obtain these swords. Including the original divine swords that they had obtained, there were a total of 18. However, under Yi Ruoshui's examination, none of them were real. These divine swords were all exactly the same. Unless they were like Yi Chong in the Heavenly Road and used battle chi to break them, it was impossible to tell which one was the real one just by looking at their appearance. Of course, they did not dare to break them. Even if they were fake, they were still very valuable in the current situation. The Divine City had offered a large sum of money to collect them. Haha, I am 80% sure that I know where the real divine swords are. It's fine if we don't look for these divine swords. You don't have to worry too much about this. Send people to pretend to look for them, but don't use treasures to exchange for them. Yi Ruoshui smiled mysteriously, as if he had thought through some things. Then he looked at the divine swords on the table, laughed mischievously, and said, "Send people separately to send these divine swords to the Divine City with fake names. Don't waste the divine swords that you have worked so hard to obtain. That Baldy in the Divine City has a lot of treasures. Go get some. Also, go to the Dragon City's Shui family and Yu family. They have immortal tier experts who can easily distinguish between fake divine swords. Ask them if they are selling fake divine swords. If they're cheap, buy them, give them to me, and sell them all to the Divine City." Elder Ancestor, this is not good, right? If the Divine Master finds out, it won't be good, right? A drop of cold sweat dripped down Yi Tianlong's forehead. Yi Ruoshui was too bold. He actually dared to pull the tiger's teeth and plot against the Divine City. No matter. As long as little Han is alive, he won't dare to touch the Yi family even if he has 10 guts. Go! Yi Ruoshui laughed, waving his hand. The fact that he and Yi Qinghan had gone to the Dark Forest must have been known by all forces. Before they knew the relationship between Lord Devourer and Yi Qinghan, no one in the continent dared to touch Yi Qinghan, and no one dared to touch the Yi family, not even the Baldy in the Divine City. After Yi Tianlong and the others had left, Yi Ruoshui looked at the Yi family's castle through the gate. He wasn't a fool. Others might not know, but as a heavenly god realm warrior, he had already checked Yi Qinghan's spatial ring when he was so close to Yi Qinghan. Although spatial rings were rare, there were dozens of them in the continent. However, he found that his god realm soul couldn't check a simple spatial ring at such a close distance. Thinking about the time when the small divine pavilion of the god-slaying mountain disappeared, the guardian's strange message, the hundreds of divine swords that flew out of the god-slaying mountain, and Yi Qinghan's vague words, he vaguely realized the truth. However, since Yi Qinghan didn't want to tell him, he couldn't ask more. This little bastard always likes to hide things. He used to do it, and he still does it now. Haha, I hope you can give me a big surprise in the future. Yi Ruoshui forced a smile, then disappeared from the tower. Yi Qinghan lived a blissful life. Every day, he took Yi Qingyu, Yi Qingwu, and Yu Qingsheng for a stroll around Song City, enjoying the respectful and envious gazes of the people of the Yi family castle. He felt the deep affection and intoxicating gazes of the 3 women, and enjoyed the sweetness of a man and a woman in love. When he had nothing to do, he would drink with Feng Zi and the others, chatting and chatting. His days were extremely happy. Every few nights, he would sneak out of the Chilling Heart Pavilion and teleport to the Manhwa Garden. Then, he would bring Yi Qingwu into the Unfettered Pavilion. One night, they would dance together, and it was an extremely happy and ecstatic experience. As for Yi Qingyo, he had already gone with Yi Tianlong, Yi Baihu, and Yi Chong to propose. The marriage had already been decided. After Yi Qinghan went to the Yu family to propose, he would pick a good day to send out invitations and invite guests from all over. He would hold a grand wedding and marry the three women together. Tonight, on the rooftop of the Chilling Heart Pavilion, only Yi Qinghan and Yu Qingcheng were sitting in each other's arms. Yu Qingcheng would be returning to the Tranquil Lake tomorrow, so Yi Qingwu and Yi Qingyu knew how to taste and left time and space for the two of them. Qingcheng, you really don't want me to send you back? Yi Qinghan caressed Yu Qingcheng's smooth black hair with one hand, but his other hand was very naughty as he explored her body through the robe. Ugh! You scoundrel! Can't we talk properly? Don't move your hand, or I'll be leaving. Yu Qingqing's face was red, and her whole body kept twisting under Yi Qinghan's hands. She struggled to stand up and pretended to be angry. Chapter 294. Yi Qinghan didn't dare to move anymore. The closer the wedding day was, the shyer the bride was. This saying was very reasonable. Yu Qingcheng was much more open on the Netherworld Island. Why do I need you to send me off? After a while, you're going to the Yu clan. Yu Qingcheng replied shyly. She tidied up her dress that was messed up by Yi Qinghan. Going to the Yu clan? What for? Yi Qinghan looked at Yu Qingqing's increasingly shy expression and couldn't help but tease her. To propose? Yu Qingqing rolled her eyes at Yi Qinghan and reminded him. Unexpectedly, she saw Yi Qinghan's teasing smile. She couldn't help but feel embarrassed and hit Yi Qinghan. She said angrily, "You scoundrel, you're teasing me again. Your Yi family is full of scoundrels." Yi Qinghan laughed and hugged Yu Qingqing. He placed her on his thighs. His hands started to move wildly as he teased. Women don't like bad men. Women don't like bad men. Don't your Yu clan's women like our Yi clan's bad men? Isn't that right? 2 generations of saintesses have fallen for the men of the Yi family. Come, beauty. Let me enjoy the taste of the Yu clan's saintess for the last night. After saying that, Yi Qinghan opened his mouth. He didn't wait for Yu Qingqing to speak and directly kissed her. The Chilling Heart Pavilion's rooftop became boundless. Of course, Yi Qinghan didn't dare to take the last step. He knew that Yu Qingqing was still very conservative. Although he was eager for sex, he still believed that women should be pampered, cherished, and respected. The next morning, Yu Qingqing sat in the Yi family's carriage and slowly left. Feng Zihua, Long Sainan, and the others also left together. They had been staying with the Yi family for more than half a month. It was time to go back. Although the Yu clan's experts had already left more than 10 days ago, Yu Ji had stayed behind. This time, when she returned with Yu Qingqing, Yi Qinghan was also very assured of her safety. After bidding farewell to everyone reluctantly, Yi Qinghan finally calmed down. According to the wishes of the Yi family's Hall of Elders, the Yu family's proposal was scheduled for 3 months later. This was to wait for the matter of the divine sword to settle down a little. The Yi family and the Yu family could also make preparations during this period of time. The family would take care of everything, and the 12 maids would take care of everything in the Chilling Heart Pavilion. Yi Qinghan discovered that he had nothing to do and nothing to worry about. He began to enjoy the comfortable life of the Yi family's young master. Other than occasionally accompanying Yi Qingyu and Yi Qingwu, he stayed in the Chilling Heart Pavilion and cultivated all day long. Although his actual strength was undoubtedly the #1 person below the Saint Realm and #1 on the Earth ranking. In reality, his battle aura had just reached the first level of the Emperor Realm. He knew that if one did not think far ahead, they would have immediate worries. Plus, he had been busy his entire life. He felt very uncomfortable if he was asked to spend his days leisurely. Therefore, he prepared to meditate and cultivate. The Emperor Realm was a dividing line. Only after entering the Emperor Realm could one be considered as a true expert of the continent. At the same time, cultivation after the Emperor Realm would become extremely difficult. Every level of the Emperor Realm required a huge amount of battle aura to continuously condense the core and increase the density of the core. At the same time, One needed to comprehend the laws of heaven and earth in order to advance. He wasn't worried about battle or a cultivation. The chilling heart pavilion had the divine spirit chi. The heaven and earth yuan chi was many times denser than the fire dragon continent. One day of cultivation here was equivalent to 10 days of cultivation outside. Moreover, he could occasionally enter a state of spiritual stillness. His battle or a cultivation could soar rapidly. At this moment, he was sitting cross-legged in the training room, thinking about his cultivation. He brought Yi Qingwu in as well. She was meditating at the side. Yi Qingwu had absorbed the aura of the divine crystal and swallowed the spirit pills that Yi Qinghan had exchanged for in the divine city. Her strength had reached the second level of the noble realm. Yi Qinghan believed that if Yi Qingwu cultivated in the chilling heart pavilion for a year at most, she would reach the pinnacle of the noble realm. If she could comprehend a bit of the laws of heaven and earth, she would be able to enter the emperor realm. After thinking for a while, Yi Qinghan opened his eyes. He turned around and smiled gently at Yi Qingwu, who was meditating beside him. He didn't disturb her, stood up, and walked out. He turned out of the side hall and came to her room. He walked in and saw Elder Lu sitting at a table in the middle of the room. He was eating the spirit fruits that Yi Qinghan had brought in. Although the body only needed to absorb the energy of heaven and earth to replenish the energy it needed after entering the God realm, eating some spirit fruits occasionally was still pleasing to the taste buds. Therefore, Elder Lu didn't reject Yi Qinghan. Instead, he asked Yi Qinghan to send him large amounts of spirit fruits every few days. "Greetings, Elder Lu." Yi Qinghan walked over with a smile. He sat down and grabbed a fruit to eat. "What's the matter?" Lu Shi glanced at Yi Qinghan and said indifferently. He continued to eat the spirit fruits. "Yes, I want to ask you about some matters related to cultivation." Yi Qinghan nodded. Some time ago, Yi Ruoshui had sent people to deliver many handwritten notes regarding cultivation. She had also sent him a voice transmission, telling him that if he had any questions about cultivation, he could ask him at any time. However, he couldn't be bothered to read them, and he couldn't be bothered to trouble Yi Ruoshui. After all, Yi Ruoshui was his ancestor. However, Lu Shi was different. In the fallen God Mountain, Lu Shi had accompanied him for half a year without the slightest complaint or dissatisfaction. Moreover, Lu Shi was from the God realm, a peak heavenly God expert. Now he was his personal bodyguard. Only a fool would not know how to make use of such a free training teacher and bodyguard. "Speak." Lu Shi put down the fruit in his hand and said seriously. He valued Yi Qinghan very much. Not only did Yi Qinghan have a heaven-defying divine beast, but his understanding of the profound mysteries of the laws was also very strong. He was looking forward to Yi Qinghan's growth. Therefore, when he heard that Yi Qinghan was talking about cultivation, he naturally became serious. What are the profound mysteries of the laws of heaven and earth in this space? Do you know? Also, to what extent does one need to understand the laws to break through to the God realm? I heard from my clan's elder that one needs to understand all the laws to reach the great perfection stage in order to break through to the God realm. Is that true? Yes, but also not. Lu Shi pondered for a moment and said straightforwardly, "Tell me about the laws of heaven and earth that you understand. I'll see if there are any mistakes. I'll help you change your point of view. Don't go astray." "Yes. Thank you, Elder Lu. It was good to have a teacher. Moreover, this teacher of his was someone who had seen the world and came from a big place. He was a teacher who was very knowledgeable in both theory and practice." Yi Qinghan was slightly grateful in his heart. After thinking for a while, he said, "I think that the law of natural enemy is the heavenly Tao, the most powerful existence in the world. As long as we understand it, we can use it and become omnipotent. There are many laws of heaven and earth. They are everywhere, but they are unpredictable. Just like Qing Feng, we can't see or touch them, but we can feel their existence." Also, yes, but also not right. Elder Lu carefully listened to Yi Qinghan's explanation. He gently stroked the sparse beard on his chin and shook his head. "The laws of heaven and earth are not the heavenly Tao. Don't think that they are too profound. The laws of heaven and earth are actually the various principles that make up this world. They are the rules that maintain the stability of this world. For example, the elemental laws: wind, fire, thunder, earth, wood, and metal. These are the basic elements that make up this world. Without them, this world will not be able to give birth to life, and there will be no humans. There are also light, destruction, and so on. If a martial artist understands the laws of heaven and earth, he can use the laws of heaven and earth to form powerful attacks, defenses, and other magical powers. Remember, it is to use, borrow, not to conquer, but to control. The laws of heaven and earth cannot be conquered or controlled. One can only borrow its power to strengthen oneself. Chapter 295. As for the laws of heaven and earth, each of them has 5 ordinary mysteries. Once you comprehend these 5 mysteries, you can break through to the deity realm. Of course, you don't have to comprehend all of them to become a deity. There is another way that your flame dragon plane doesn't know. There is another way to become a deity? This was the first time Yi Qinghan had heard of this, so he asked in surprise. Yes. Actually, each law doesn't only have 5 mysteries, but countless mysteries. For example, for the law of earth, he has 5 mysteries: earth element, gravity, life, pulse, and heaviness. Actually, these 5 are the lowest and most basic mysteries of the law of earth. Above these 5 mysteries are the elementary mysteries that are fused in pairs. Above them are the intermediate mysteries that are fused in 3, the advanced mysteries that are fused in 4, and of course the strongest 5 mysteries that are fused into 1, the strongest ultimate mystery. Once you comprehend the ultimate mystery, you will become the strongest existence among deities, an invincible god emperor. As for the methods to become a deity, one is to comprehend the simplest and lowest basic mysteries. The other is to comprehend 1 or 2 basic mysteries that are fused into the elementary mysteries. Of course, I don't expect you to comprehend the elementary mysteries by telling you all this. I just want to give you a general idea so that you don't have to take a deiter. Elementary mysteries? Ultimate mysteries? Invincible God Emperor? Yi Qinghan felt as if he had touched upon a whole new world. This world was boundless, incomparably profound, and incomparably shocking. Secretly remembering Elder Lu's every word, Yi Qinghan suddenly thought of a question and asked, "Then the Soul Emperor, is he an invincible God Emperor who comprehended the ultimate mystery?" F***CK. Do you think invincible God Emperors are like cabbages or carrots? I said that Master is the first among God Emperors, but that doesn't mean that his strength is the first. Master's strength is relatively strong among God Emperors, but any invincible God Emperor can kill him in a second. Lu Shi sighed in exasperation and amusement. At the same time, he once again admired the invincible God Emperor's strength. I can kill him in a second? Then how did the Soul Emperor become the #1 God Emperor? Yi Qinghan was puzzled. Could it be that the divine realm wasn't divided according to strength? Because the Soul Emperor is one of the divine world's 2 great refining grandmasters. In the divine world, there are as many godly level powerhouses as there are hairs on an ox, and all godly level powerhouses are able to refine ordinary artifacts. But there are only 2 people that can become a grandmaster refining grandmaster. In the past, Master spent 10,000 years to refine a supreme divine artifact, causing the entire divine world to shake. Even the 8 sovereigns sent people to congratulate him. With such a rare honor, there is no doubt that he became the #1 God Emperor. Supreme divine weapon? The 8 sovereigns? Yi Qinghan became excited as well. He began to picture the vast and majestic scene of the heavenly realm in his mind. At the same time, he was looking forward to the heavenly realm. However, after a while, he asked doubtfully, "Isn't there another Grandmaster? Could the other person be the second God Emperor?" No. The other person's strength was no longer in the category of an Emperor God. This was because the other person was a supreme sovereign of the Star Sea. It's useless for you to understand all this now. Think about it carefully, feel more, and cultivate harder. The sky of the divine world is incomparably vast. That is the true stage for the strong. Of course, if you want to step onto that stage, you must first reach the threshold of the God realm. She stopped talking. If she told him too much now, it would affect his state of mind. Thus, she shut her mouth at the right time. One more thing. Do you know what happened to my sister? She was originally a jade spirit body. The sacrifice wasn't successful, so her soul was shaken and she fainted. In the end, Lord Devour gave her a divine crystal, and she woke up. However, her strength skyrocketed, and she has already entered the second level of the Emperor realm. Alright, she also comprehended a basic occult skill that you mentioned. Didn't you say that anyone who comprehended the basic occult could become a god? Well, will there be any problems? It's fine, Lord Devour. Would such a powerful existence need to use such a method to harm your sister? Not only is your sister fine, but she also obtained a great opportunity. The gift from Lord Devour is too precious. It's so precious that even I am jealous. As for the basic occult skill that your sister comprehended, you must know that she comprehended the skill, not the principle. This skill was created by the original owner of the divine crystal. Of course, she can easily learn it. However, the occult skill has to be comprehended slowly. Only when she completely comprehended it can she become a god. She looked at Yi Qing Han with disdain, blaming him for not being grateful. So precious. What do you mean? Yi Qing Han was delighted and asked quickly. She smiled and explained, you also know that when a martial artist breaks through to the god realm, they will be recognized by the principle of heaven and earth. They can condense a divine crystal. As long as the soul within the divine crystal is not destroyed, the god realm can be said to be immortal. After a god realm expert is killed, if the divine crystal is not destroyed, then the divine crystal can be extracted. At the same time, a martial artist can refine the divine crystal and directly comprehend the mysteries inside to become a god. I've checked your sister's divine crystal. It's a peak of heavenly god realm expert. In other words, as long as your sister can comprehend the principle inside, she can become a peak of heavenly god realm expert like me. She'll be much stronger than your ancestor. Moreover, the most important thing is, this divine crystal belongs to a peak of heavenly god realm expert. This kind of divine crystal is really rare because its owner was just one step away from breaking through to the god general realm. Although it's easy for a warrior to refine a divine crystal to become a god, it has a fatal drawback. It's hard for him to progress further because he hasn't comprehended the principle inside the divine crystal. Thus, he can't refine a higher level divine crystal, and it's almost impossible for him to comprehend the principle. Thus, he can only stay at the same realm for the rest of his life. But your sister is different. Her competence can progress unceasingly because she has refined a peak of heavenly god realm divine crystal. She can easily refine a higher level divine crystal. Of course, the premise is that she can get the divine crystal of a god general. Oh, so that's how it is? Yi Qinghan understood it now. His sister's divine crystal had reached the peak of heavenly god realm. If he could get the divine crystal of a god general, he could refine it to become a god general. And if this god general's divine crystal was also the peak of god general's principle, he could continue to refine the god king's divine crystal. At this moment, Yi Qinghan knew that the gift Lord Devour had given him was that precious. His sister could easily become a heavenly god realm expert that was even stronger than her ancestor. At the same time, he thought that if he had a chance, he would find a way to get a god general's divine crystal for Yi Qingyu. Of course, it would be the best if it was a peak of heavenly god realm. Yeah, he could also get one for Yu Qingsheng and Yi Qingwu, which would help them become gods easily. Thinking of that, he couldn't help but smile happily. You're smiling so lewdly. I'm sure you want to help your sister get a divine crystal, right? I'm telling you, don't be too optimistic. If you can't break through to the god realm, you can't go to the god realm. Whatever you think about is just fleeting clouds. Eventually, you won't even have the unfettered ring. You should work harder to cultivate. Young man, cultivation is the way of the king. Lu Shi could easily see through Yi Qinghan's thoughts, pouring a bucket of cold water on him. Yi Qinghan shivered as Lu Shi's bucket of cold water splashed on him. Right? If he couldn't break through to the god realm, not only would everything be fleeting clouds, but he would also lose his life. He didn't dare to linger, bidding farewell to old Lu and heading to the cultivation room. Chapter 296. Yi Qinghan, on the other hand, was flushed with success and was extremely flirtatious. Status, wealth, beauties, everything was bountiful. He was in a very good mood, and his days were very comfortable. However, some people were happy, while others were sad. Some people's days were very uncomfortable and unhappy. For example, Yi Qinghuang. Yi Qinghuang lived in a small city near the sea in the House of Aries. 6 years ago, in the Garden of Intoxication, he was lightly stabbed in the stomach by Yi Qinghan. His strength as a level 3 general realm was reduced to nothing. Then he was sent to this small city by Yi Tianlong at the torture hall with a light wave of his hand. The small city was very small. It could barely be considered as a city. Although Yi Jian was imprisoned, Yi Qinghuang became a cripple, and the first branch could be said to have lost their power in the Yi family. A starving camel was still bigger than a horse. This city master did not make things difficult for Yi Qinghuang. He had good food and a good place to stay. Occasionally, he would send 1 or 2 prostitutes to comfort Yi Qinghuang's wounded heart, afraid that he would be provoked and cause trouble for him. The injuries from 6 years ago had already healed, but there were hidden injuries in his meridians and dantian acupoints that could never be erased. Yi Qinghuang cultivated for a few years and realized that his strength was improving very slowly. He simply gave up and stopped cultivating. At least he still had a level 7 beast. After fusing with it, he could barely reach the strength of a general realm. Yi Qinghan, I'll stab you to death, I'll castrate you. I'll curse you to never have orgasms for the rest of your life. I'll curse your anus to be pierced every day. At this moment, Yi Qinghuang was sitting in his room, holding a cloth doll in his left hand and a thin needle in his right hand, stabbing the cloth doll continuously. A few days ago, the city master of the small city came back from Tsang City and brought the news that Yi Qinghan had been bestowed the position of young clan leader. This made his heart, which had already become somewhat perverted due to hatred, even crazier. His nerves were a little deranged. Yida, go to Plum Blossom Street and get me 2 bitches. This young master is in a bad mood today. Yi Qinghuang stabbed the doll for a while and felt a little better. Yida was a servant sent by his mother to serve Yi Qinghuang, fearing that Yi Qinghuang would take things too hard. However, a moment later, Yida, who would usually run over as soon as he called, didn't immediately appear. Yi Qinghuang was a bit annoyed. He slammed the table and roared, Yida, did someone rape your chrysanthemum? Hurry up and die for me. If you piss this young master off, then when this young master is done, I won't even give you a sip of the leftover soup. Damn it, trash. Outside the room, there was still silence. Yi Qinghuang was even angrier. He picked up the long needle on the table and was about to go out and give Yida a blow of chrysanthemum wounds. Unexpectedly, at this time, the door suddenly opened, and a black shadow flashed in like a ghost. No need to shout. I knocked him out. Who are you? What are you trying to do? I'm the young master of the Yi family. Although Yi Qinghuang had lost his strength, he still had his eyesight. This black-clothed man, whose entire body was wrapped in black cloth, only had a pair of eyes. His footwork was relaxed and his battle aura was strong. It was obvious that he had reached the level of a marshal at the very least. At this moment, he had even knocked out his servant. Such a strange appearance made him slightly afraid. He quickly combined his battle aura and held on with one breath. Ha! The young master of the Yi family? The black-clothed man revealed a trace of disdain in his eyes. He sneered, can the young master of the Yi family live in this kind of doghouse? Would he let a lame servant serve him? He can only hire 2 old women from Plum Blossom Street to spend the night? His strength is even lower than that of a trash. Yi Qinghuang. Do you still not understand your current situation? You're completely finished. You're no longer the young master of the Yi family. You can't even compare to the useless young master of the Yi family. You're destined to live the rest of your life like a lowly dog and become the joke of the world. I'm the young master of the Yi family. I'm not a trash. I'm not a dog. Stop talking. Shut your mouth. Yi Qingguang was humiliated by the black man, and his face turned pale. Following that, his expression became extremely agitated, and his eyes gradually turned blood red. He roared hysterically and slapped his palm at the black-clothed man. Bang! The black man casually waved his palm and sent Yi Qingguang flying into the wall. He looked at Yi Qingguang, who was crawling on the ground with a pitiful expression, and continued to sneer. Back then, Yi Qingguang was so insolent. The young master of the Yi family, an expert of the earth ranking, the pride of the younger generation of the House of Aries, and the dream lover of countless young girls. But now, your position has been replaced. The seventh son of the Yi family that you look down on back, then has become the young clan head of the Yi family, and the future clan head of the Yi family. I even heard that he's going to marry Yu Qingsheng, Yi Qingwu, and Yi Qingyu soon. 3 peerless beauties. What kind of luck is that? What kind of glory and respect is that? But you can only stay in this small city by the border for the rest of your life, and look up to him forever. Stop talking. Stop talking. I beg you to stop talking. The veins on Yi Qingguang's face popped up, and his face became distorted. His expression became incomparably dejected and pained. He shook his head powerlessly and spoke with a sobbing tone. Trash. You have no ambition. Yi Qingguang, if you're still a man, you shouldn't be acting like a girl. You should stand up, straighten your back, and reclaim your glory. The man in black shouted angrily and spoke in a cold and stern tone. Have you forgotten who made you like this? Have you forgotten who imprisoned your father in the mountain behind the Yi family? Have you forgotten who made your first branch so weak? Stand up and answer me. Don't you want to take revenge? It's Yi Qinghan. Of course I haven't forgotten. I can't sleep every night when I think of him. I hate him so much every night. I hate him to the bones. I want to tear him into pieces. Yi Qingguang slowly crawled up, and his face turned from pale to ferocious. He gnashed his teeth and roared. However, when he thought of his ruined body and thought of Yi Qinghan's current strength and status, he said helplessly, Revenge? What can I do to take revenge? I'm a trash now. How can I take revenge? How can I take revenge? That's right. This is the real Yi Qingguang, the arrogant Yi Qingguang. A sinister smile flashed across the black-clothed man's eyes. His tone was no longer cold, but rather bewitching as he said, If I can allow you to not only recover your strength in a short period of time, but also allow your strength to skyrocket, allow you to take revenge, allow you to regain your glory. Do you dare to take this gamble? Hearing the man in black's words, Yi Qingguang's body trembled. A hint of fanaticism flashed in his eyes, and his body trembled slightly. However, he was not a fool. After a moment of silence, he said, I don't believe it. If you can prove it, I dare to take this gamble. He watched carefully. The man in black sneered. His body suddenly glowed with a black light, and his aura suddenly soared. A powerful aura enveloped the entire room, and Yi Qingguang felt suffocated. Your condition? Yi Qingguang's eyes flashed. After a moment, his eyes gradually became passionate, and he gritted his teeth and said, Your condition, plan a soul curse, and serve my master for 50 years. The man in black's eyes flashed with a hint of a smile. It seemed that today's task was completed perfectly. He continued, My master's identity is respected. Although you are the young master of the Yi family, I will not stop humiliating you. Your master is? Of course. Yi Qingguang knew that the man in black's master's identity was respected. This was because a soul curse was not something ordinary people had. This thing was very precious. The person who was planted with the soul curse would never betray him. Therefore, he wanted to find out the identity of the man in black's master, so that he could feel more at ease. The man in black was a little impatient. He said coldly, My master's identity is confidential. Of course, I can't tell you now. However, he is definitely respected by his side. I can only tell you my master's code name. What code name? Yi Qingquang asked curiously. Brother Chun. A hint of fanaticism and devotion flashed in the man in black's eyes. He crossed his hands on his chest and said solemnly, "Believe in Brother Chun, and you will obtain eternal life." "Okay, I'll take the gamble." Yi Qingquang gritted his teeth. A hint of madness appeared in his eyes. He looked out of the window and said in a very cold tone, "Yi Qinghan, just you wait. I will make you regret coming to this world, that you're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.